Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So our Bhaktivedanta group welcomes everybody to the first day of the Katha on Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 1, as instructed in the Srimad Bhagavatam by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Srila Prabhupada. The speaker for today's discourse is His Grace Satchidananda Das Prabhu, and we are grateful and thankful to Prabhuji for sharing this timeless wisdom with all of us. At the same time, we want to extend our thanks to all participants for joining today's discourse. Of the innumerable collections of spiritual teachings found in our Vedic literature, Srimad Bhagavatam is considered the topmost. Vedic literature is sometimes said to be a desire tree, a tree that can yield whatever one might desire. And of that tree, the Srimad Bhagavatam is said to be the ripe and most relishable fruit. There are unlimited benefits of organizing and attending Srimad Bhagavatam Katha. The prime result is that if a person is hearing attentively, he can attain the pure love for Krishna. I heard this analogy of Srimad Bhagavatam in another Katha and really liked the same and like to share with you. When the child is sick, sometimes parents need to give a bitter syrup to their children so that they can get cured of the disease. However, the child will oftentimes refuse the syrup because of its bitterness. The mother of the child, who knows the heart of the child, will take this bitter syrup and nicely make a sweet juice or smoothie out of the same bitter syrup. The child who earlier refused the bitter syrup will now happily drink the same because it's now a drink of his or her choice. The bitter syrup, which is actually beneficial to the child, has now easily entered the body of the child as the sweet juice of his choice. Similarly, the series of stories in Srimad Bhagavatam are like that sweet juice, which are very attractive and very, very entertaining to the ear and mind of the listener. And the medicine like instructions, which are a little bit bitter, will contain the principles and will be intertwined in the narrative of the story. And as they enter the heart of the listener through the ear, it cleanses and purifies the heart of the listener. We sincerely wish that all of us have got this opportunity to listen the same, and if we can do that with great faith, love, and dedication, and let the Srimad Bhagavatam stories cleanse our hearts and increase our love for the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna. Now I request Satchidananda Das Prabhuji to commence the Srimad Bhagavatam Katha series. Hare Krishna.
Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatyadesh-tarine Vancha-kalpatarobhyascha Kripa-sindhubhya-eva-cha Patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Iti Namine Shri Varshabhanvi Devi Daitaya Kripabdaye Krishna Sambandha Vijnana Daine Prabhave Namaha Madhuro Ujjwala Premadhya Shri Rupanuga Bhaktida Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti Vigrahaya Namastute Namaste Gauravani Shri Murtaye Dinatarine Rupanuga Viruddha Apasiddhanta Dvanta Harine Nama Gaura Kishoraya Shakshad Vairagya Murtaye Vipralambha Rasambodhe पादाम्भोजाय ते नमः। नमः भक्ति विनोदाय सच्चिदानंद नामिने गौर शक्ति स्वरूपाय रूपानुग वराय ते गौरविर्भाव भूमिस्तम निर्दिष्ट सज्जन प्रिय वैष्णव सर्वभौमाय श्री जगन्नाथाय ते नमः। वंदे रूप सनातन रघुजुगौ श्री जीव गोपाल को कृष्ण कीर्तन गान रतन पनो प्रेमामृताम बहु निधि धीरा धीर जन प्रिय करो निर्मत्सरो पूजितो वंदे रूप सनातन रघुजुगौ श्री जीव गोपाल को। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैत गदाधार श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा। जय 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 श्री चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गौर चंद्र जय गौर भक्त वृंदा। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। शृण्वन्ता स्वकथा कृष्ण पुण्य श्रवण कीर्तनम हृदयन्तस्त भद्राणि विदुनोति सुहृत्सताम्। नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। आराध्यो भगवान् व्रजेश तनयस् तद्धाम वृन्दावनम् रम्या काचिदुपासना व्रजवधूवर्गेण तया कल्पिता। श्रीमद् भागवत पुराणयमलं प्रेम पुमार्थो महान् श्री चैतन्य महाप्रभोर्मतैदं नायत्रया ग्रह परः। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णवंद की जय। ब्रह्मबद्व गौड़ीय संप्रदाय आचार्य गुरुवर्ग की जय। गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। श्रीमद् भागवतार्थनाम आस्वादो रसिकै सह सजाति यस्य स्निग्धे साधो संग स्वतो वरे। In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Sri Krishnaraj Kaviraj Goswami Pad is saying that one should taste the meaning of Srimad Bhagavatam in the association of pure devotees. Aswado rasikai saha. And he says one should associate with the devotees who are more advanced than themselves. Sajatasyase snigde sadho sanga swato vare. Swato vare means one who is advanced than oneself. Such association one should seek. And those who are endowed with a similar type of affection for the Lord. Krishne swadham upavagate dharma jnanadi bhi saha kalau nashta drisham esha purna arko adhunodhitaha. This Bhagavat Purana or Srimad Bhagavatam is as brilliant as the sun, is described as the arka, very, very bright, Purna Arko, and it has arisen after the departure of Lord Krishna to his own abode, accompanied by religion, dharma, gyan, knowledge, etc. Persons who have lost their vision to the dense darkness of this age of Kali or ignorance shall get light from this Srimad Bhagavatam. Srila Sanatana Goswami Pad, in one of his books, he has mentioned Mad Eka Bandho Mat Sangin, Mad Guru Man Mahadhana, Man Nistarka Mad Bhaga, Mad Anando Namastute. Sanatana Goswami Pad is saying, Mad Eka Bandho, you are indeed my only bandho, my well-wisher, my relative. Mat Sangin, you are only my associate. Mad Guru, you are indeed my guru. Man Mahadhana, you are indeed my highest treasure. Man Mad Mistaraka, you are indeed Srimad Bhagavatam, you are indeed my only deliverer. Mad Bhagya, you are my good fortune. Mad Anando Namastute, you are my ecstasy. You are my source of bliss, O Srimad Bhagavatam. I offer my pranams, my danvats, my obeisances unto you. What can we say about Srimad Bhagavatam? Srimad Bhagavatam is unlimited. But nevertheless, with my limited intelligence, knowledge, and perhaps the Sukruti or the pious deeds that I may have perhaps obtained by the mercy of Guru and Gauranga, by the mercy of His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada and his sincere followers, I'm able to possibly dive into perhaps one drop of this vast ocean of Srimad Bhagavatam. And may the words that emanate in the realizations and sharing this katha be pleasing and pure in all respects to our Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya Acharya Guru Varga, to Gauranga Mahaprabhu, to the Godhead personality who is the Adi Guru Tattva, Lord Baldev or Nityananda. Lord Balram himself says that as Ananta Sesha, as the unlimited Sesh, I have thousands and thousands of mouths and thousands of ears, but those are not sufficient in describing the glories of Krishna, his devotees, and his pastimes. The Srimad Bhagavatam is an unlimited ocean of pure bhakti. And it is not that it was recently created about 5,000 years ago by Vyasadeva. No, Srimad Bhagavatam is eternal. It is eternally present, but it remanifests to the pure devotees for the benefit of mankind. So the most recent remanifestation was about 5,000 years ago when Vyasadeva was responsible for the compilation of Srimad Bhagavatam, the most recent compilation. Hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam, in Srimad Bhagavatam, Srila Prabhupada, in Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada's purports, Prabhupada writes, he mentions that by submissively hearing this transcendental literature, one can attain the full pleasure of his heart's desire. Very, very important message or siksha that is Divine Grace Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada is giving us, as it is from the essence of all the scriptures, that one should not be reading Bhagavatam. one should serve Srimad Bhagavatam by the process of reading and hearing. It is Srimad Bhagavata Sevanam. Because Srimad Bhagavatam is life. Is Sri Krishna Parivartate. The Supreme Lord has many, many leelas. And one of the important leelas of the Supreme Lord is his Kripa Leela, or the pastimes of his mercy. And in Kripa Leela, in the following ways, Sri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, endows his mercy upon all liberated souls and the non-liberated souls. So, he himself comes, as he says in the Bhagavad Gita, Yada Yada Hi Dharmasya Glanir Bhavati Bharata Abhyutanam Adharmasya Dharma Sanstapakaya Sambhavami Yuge Yuge. I come from time after time, millennium after millennium, Yuge Yuge, to re-establish religiosity and also to Paritranayam Sadhunam Vinashayati Dushkritam Dharma Sanstapakaya Sambhavami Yuge Yuge. To give pleasure to the sadhus, to deliver the sadhus from the demoniac personalities. So when he comes, either in his original form as Vrajendranandan Krishna, or as his expansions as Vasudev Krishna, or other avatars like Vishnu, Narayana, Narsingha, Vamana, etc., he comes here to bestow his mercy. That is one component of his Kripa Leela. Another component of his Kripa Leela is that he is present in the form of his deity in the temple. There are 4 yugas in the Vedic system. What are those 4 yugas? Kali Yuga, which lasts about 400,000 years, to be exact 432,000 years. Prior to that was Dwapar Yuga, which lasts twice, 800,000, or to be precise, 864,000 years. And then prior to that was Treta, which lasts about 1.2 million years. And prior to that is Satya Yuga, which lasts about 1.6, 1.7 million years. So the Padma Puran mentions that in all these 4 yugas, there are 4 different yuga dharmas, or the process of religiosity to attain perfection. In the Satya Yuga, it was Dhayato Vishnu, Tretayam Makai, Dwaparya Paricharyanam, Kalo Tad Hari Kirtanam. Perfection was attained by those persons in Satya Yuga was through deep meditation with the purity. Rishis used to meditate for 60, 70,000 years, and the lifespan at that time was approximately 100,000 years. Human beings used to live about 100,000 years as an average lifespan. As the Yuga changed, and in that Satya Yuga, many different avatars of the Lord appeared. Sandarsingadev, Vaman avatar, Matsya avatar, Kurma avatar, Varaha avatar, etc. Then in the Treta Yuga, Lord Ramachandra himself appeared, one of the incarnations of Krishna. And in that age, or in Treta, the Yuga Dharma changed to Tretayam Makai, meaning the perfection of life, or the goal of life to please Krishna or Vishnu, was through yajna. There were pure Brahmins, and the purity was there that when they even said the mantras, there were different Devi Devtas or demigods that would appear in the yajna from the yajna fire and accept the offerings or the ahuti. And the average lifespan at that time was 10,000 years. Following the Treta came Dwapar. And in Dwapar Yuga, Dwaparya Paricharyanam. In Dwapar, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Purna Purushottam Bhagavan Sri Krishna appeared. He decided to come instead of Satya Yuga, instead of Treta Yuga, he decided to come in Dwapar Yuga. He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and as we study Srimad Bhagavatam, when we enter the first verse, we will see that there is a particular word used as Swarat. Swarat means he is fully independent. Just like I've given this example in my previous discourses, that somebody who is the captain of a particular, let's say, game like cricket, that captain is fully independent to make decisions as to who is going to bowl first, or who are going to be the bowlers, or who are going to be the batsmen in the terms of the order. And sometimes we have seen that the captain decides to go first in his batting, or sometimes he decides that he is going to go third or fifth in his batting. Sometimes the captain himself he may not be the most perfect. His forte may not be bowling, but he himself sometimes takes 1 or 2 overs as a bowler because he's the captain of the team. He has a particular strategy. He has a particular reason why he does what. Similarly, one should not understand that because some people ask this question that Lord Ramachandra came before Krishna, so Krishna is an avatar of Lord Ramachandra. That is not so. So some of these concepts will become very clear as we study Srimad Bhagavatam. That is why the first session and perhaps even the second session, I will take some in-depth time to give a proper introduction of Srimad Bhagavatam. That way the listeners will get a deeper idea of what Srimad Bhagavatam is and how apart it is from the rest of the Vedas or the Vedic literatures. So, and then, as I was mentioning, the Yuga Dharma in Dwapar Yuga changed to Dwapare Paricharyanam. In that Yuga, the maximum temples were built all over India. Bharatvarsha. Actually, Bharatvarsha was not limited just to what we see today as the boundaries of India. Actually, the whole world was Bharatvarsha. All these continents that we see, including North America, South America, Asia, the different khandas, they were all a part of Bharatvarsha. It was also known as Ilavritvarsh because the great emperors under whom the other kings who used to rule the different parts of the world were subservient. And Bharatvarsh was named after the great king Bharat Raja. And King Bharat being one of the most important figures in the Vedic, as one of the important figures in the Vedic king. That is why under that Emperor Bharat, whatever land was ruled by him, or all the other kings or the smaller kings under King Bharat, was known as Bharatvarsh. So in Bharatvarsh, elaborate temple worship started in Dwapar Yuga, especially when Krishna disappeared after winding up his pastimes. So Krishna appeared in his Kripa Leela as personally in Dwapar and in different avatars in the Treta Yuga or the Dwapar Yuga, but also as his merciful prasad, or as his mercy, or his pastime, or his Leela he appeared in the form of the deity in the temple. So even today, when we go to any temple, when we see the form of the Lord, then we should consider that as non-different from him, not a piece of stone, not a piece of marble, not some wooden. It is the Supreme Lord. Due to his mercy, he has agreed to appear in that temple, whether it is the temple of your house or it is the temple of the community or a temple that may be that may be built for many people to visit. So that is one of the Kripa Leelas. And then the third Kripa Leela we can understand is Krishna's words and Krishna's pastimes is also his Kripa Leela. Srimad Bhagavatam is Sri Krishna Parivartate. Sri Krishna transformed in his sweet pastimes along with his devotees. That is basically one of the Kripa Leelas of Krishna in the form of Srimad Bhagavatam. Whenever we see the book Bhagavat or the Granth Bhagavat, we should offer it obeisances and as much awe and reverence and respect and love as much as we would when we would be standing in front of the deities in the temple, or if we are fortunate to see Krishna face to face. They are non-different. So these are some of the very important principles that I will be sharing with you in the introduction of Srimad Bhagavatam. And of course, the fourth yuga being Kali Yuga. In Kali Yuga, Kalo Tadhari Kirtanam, the Yuga Dharma changed from Dwapare Paricharyanam to Hari Kirtan. Because in this age of Kali Yuga, the best way of attaining the supreme destination is through Hari Kirtan. Harir Nam, Harir Nam, Harir Nam eva kevalam, Kalau eva na asti, na asti, na asti, gatiranyatha. Again, the Padma Puran has said that Harir Nam, Harir Nam, Harir Nam eva kevalam. Indeed the holy name, indeed the holy name, indeed the holy name, eva kevalam, certainly only that. And Kalo, in this age of Kali, na asti, na asti, na asti. There is no other way, there is no other way, there is no other way. 3 times it has been stressed. Gatir anyatha. Gatir means our supreme goal or destination. Otherwise, anyatha. And Sri Krishna has been so kind, the Supreme Lord, and his divine associates, that they have incarnated in the form of the holy name. Especially wherever the name of Krishna appears, whether it is Govinda, Hari, Mukunda, so many different names he has, he appears in his name, non-different from him. The Shastras say, Namna Namino Abhinna. Abhinna means non-different. Namna means one who is named, the name and the named are non-different. They are indeed the same in all respects. But due to the poor fund of knowledge and due to the covering of Maya, due to the 3 modes of material nature that we are all endowed with in this material world of Tamogun, Rajogun, and Satogun, the mode of ignorance, the mode of passion, and the mode of goodness, we are not able to understand that and relish the company of the holy name as much as we would relish the company of a person, and that supreme person being Sri Krishna. And therefore, we have to take the holy name, understand the holy name, or the holy names rather, whether it is in the form of the mantra or through the books like book Bhagavatam, through the proper source, from one who has understood the holy name, one who has realized the holy name, one who has realized the Shastra, and one who has realized Krishna consciousness to the fullest extent due to their pure devotional service. So we have to, Srila Prabhupada says, hear Srimad Bhagavatam submissively. Anytime we try to challenge, whether even when we are in school or college, And when we challenge the teacher or a professor, then a good vibration is not established. There is nothing wrong in asking a million questions if a student does not understand. But to ask questions in the mode of a challenge, then that becomes a challenge for the student to understand or receive the proper information or kripa. Whenever, even in our material interaction, we can see through our practical experience. I will give you a very simple example. Supposing if somebody, you are walking on the street, or say one person, Mr. A, is walking on the street, and one Mr. B comes and in a very, very challenging and an arrogant tone says, "Hey, Mr. A, do you know where this street is?" So Mr. A obviously did not like the attitude. First of all, you're trying to get something from me. At least show some normal courtesy by using the right tone and by using the proper normal etiquette when you're approaching somebody, especially when you are needing something. So a lot of, in this today's world, a lot of people will send you the other way if one shows that kind of disrespect. Or if the person is of a very good nature, he may not reveal all the details of certain secrets in a particular subject matter, because without humility, we can never be recipients. Very, very important principle. Srila Prabhupada's Gurudev, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur Prabhupada used to say, and Prabhupada repeated his words many times. He said that an atheist, somebody who is a Gnostic, one who is an unbeliever in God, one who does not believe in God, he also needs the sanction or gets the sanction of the Supreme Lord to even become an atheist. This is a very interesting statement and such a true statement if analyzed. Because the Supreme Lord is situated within everybody's heart. If somebody does not want to believe in him, or somebody who wants to run away from him, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that I am the source of all knowledge and remembrance and forgetfulness. So if somebody wants to forget Krishna, and that is the soul and an intense desire, Krishna will give the intelligence how to forget him. So similarly, one may have the topmost professor teaching a particular subject, but if the attitude of the student is not submissive, submissive does not mean that one should not ask questions. As a matter of fact, Krishna encourages questions in the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna says that tad viddhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadakshanti jnaninas tattva darshana. One should ask questions pranipatena pariprashneya, with humility, to understand the subject matter. Upadakshanti jnaninas tattva darshana. One who has seen the truth, one who is a professor of spirituality, a pandita, will impart that knowledge because that person has seen the truth. If one has not seen the truth, then one can never present the truth. If one doesn't have money in his pocket, how can he give money? Simply then we are cheating people. Oh, I will give you, you come today, you come tomorrow, you come day after. But that means that either the person doesn't have money or doesn't have intention to give. So similarly, the first principle of understanding anything, whether spiritual or material, especially spiritual knowledge, is we have to have a submissive hearing attitude of this transcendental literature, and then one can attain full pleasure of its heart's desire. Jena Atma Su Prasidhati. Then the heart or the soul within the real person will be Prasidhati. Prakrishta Rupena, will be extremely satisfied, will be content. But one must be very careful to hear this message from the right source. Extremely important. So the first point being submissive oral reception. Second important point that Srila Prabhupada has made in his introduction, which is based on Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra, that one should be very careful from where you hear this right source, this message. As meaning, if I have not seen the truth, or somebody has not seen a particular thing, or doesn't have money and promises to give money, then that person is simply going to cheat, and the person seeking will get cheated. So this Srimad Bhagavatam was brought by Narad Muni from the spiritual world. As I mentioned earlier, it just remanifested 5,000 years ago through Vyasadeva, and it was given to Vyasadeva, his disciple. And Vyasadeva later that turned this message or this teachings of Srimad Bhagavatam to his son, Sukadeva Goswami. And Srila Sukadeva Goswami Pad delivered this message to Parikshit Maharaj, who is none other than the grandson of the Pandav Arjun. This happened during the 7 days after the warning was delivered to Parikshit Maharaj. So Srila Sukadeva Goswami, he was a liberated soul, somebody who had seen the truth, Tattva Darshana, who had seen Sri Krishna, who had seen the pastimes of Sri Krishna, who had learned the truths of pure bhakti from Srila Vyasadeva, who is none other than Sri Krishna in his incarnation of Mahavishnu. Srila Vyasadeva is an incarnation of Mahavishnu. There are 3 types of Vishnus. One is Mahavishnu, known as Karana Udakashayi Vishnu. The other one is known as Garbhodaksayi Vishnu. And the third Vishnu, who is an expansion of Garbhodaksayi Vishnu, is known as Shiro Dakshayi Vishnu, who is well known as the Paramatma, who is expanded into millions and trillions, unlimited quantities in every living entity's heart, and also in every atom. Therefore, this Shirodaksai Vishnu is also commonly known as Vishnu. Vishnu in Sanskrit, if we translate that into English, means all pervading. That personality who is present everywhere. Anda anuchayantar param anucharantaramasta govindam adi purusham tamaham bhajami. This form of Krishna is also present within every atom. Anu, he is present in every anu. Just as those who have studied the modern science in schools and colleges, we see that the structure of the atom consists of a nucleus. It consists of protons and electrons that revolve around the nucleus at a very high speed. This nucleus is like the heart of the atom. And just like in the heart of every living entity, in everybody, there is the Atma and Paramatma, so as that nucleus is the representation of the Atma. And along in the nucleus, which is the heart of the atom, there is also the presence of Paramatma in the form of Sirodakshai Vishnu. And that is the reason why every atom has got that tremendous energy of those protons and electrons revolving. And when one, through unscrupulous methods, through the demoniac mentality of gaining power, name, fame, material gain, when they try to manipulate the atom by breaking its atomic structure, that creates a huge explosion, which we normally call it an atomic bomb or a nuclear explosion. That is when the Paramatma leaves that atom very, very dissatisfied and unhappy. And due to that, this huge explosion is created because of the imbalance, because somebody forces that. So we have to understand that this is a very, very deep science. And Srimad Bhagavatam deals with so many details that perhaps every Sunday, if we meet, at 5:30, and if I have only 2 hours, I don't think even 2 lifetimes will be sufficient to elaborately and even properly describe Srimad Bhagavatam to its fullest extent. But nevertheless, even if we gather one small drop, then we will be able to distinguish between the truth, between the impure and the pure. And that itself is sufficient launching pad for us to enter into pure bhakti, which itself is a great achievement, especially because in today's world, people are misguided. Prayana alpa ayushya sabya kalavasmin yuge janaha manda sumanda matayo manda bhagya hi upadritaha. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, Vyasadeva mentions this verse. He says that in this, Sukadeva Goswami is telling Parikshit Maharaj that in this age of Kali Yuga, the life is diminished. As I mentioned, that in the Satya Yuga, the lifespan was 100,000. In Treta, it was 1,000. In Dwapar, it got reduced by one more zero to 1,000 years. And especially now in Kali Yuga, we are still in the beginning of Kali Yuga. Only 5,000 years have elapsed. 428,000 years have yet to go. And that is considered the beginning of Kali Yuga in one sense. And then our lives are diminished to not even somebody who can live up to 95 or 100 years, it's considered a great thing. So, alpa ayushya, manda, people are lazy. Sumanda matayo, they are misguided. See how Vyasadeva had already visioned. The last vision was 5,000 years ago, but this was already mentioned eternally, that this is the symptoms of Kali Yuga. Manda bhagya, they are unfortunate. The number of people that you used to go to the temples and congregate and spend about 6 to 7 hours in the Dwapar Yuga every day, that was like a nitya karma. That was like a natural habit every day, just like how we eat our lunch and dinner and take our bath, etc. That is called nitya karma. So the nitya karma of most people in Bharatvarsha in the Dwapar Yuga was to be in the temple 3 hours early in the morning, right from Brahma Muhurat at 3:30 a.m., 4 a.m. to about 6:30, and then everybody would go and do their own respective duties and then come back again and meet in the temple every evening at about 6 p.m. around sunset to about 8:39. So about 6 hours a day, regularly people used to do that. So this is Manda Bhagya of the age of Kali Yuga. Today we are inviting people to come to the temples, to come and take part in the spiritual programs. But people do not have any priorities. They will give priorities to birthday parties, to weddings, to some kind of card parties, or going and mixing with people in the cinema halls, or mixing in the bars and other things. How many people are coming to really seek the spiritual information, which is the true science? And as in the beginning of the introduction, Asimkar Prabhu mentioned that the Srimad Bhagavatam is like a bitter medicine meant for the well-being, like a loving mother administers a bitter medicine for the well-being of the child due to pure love. Similarly, the Srimad Bhagavatam does not deal with any nonsense. It is not sugar-coated. I'm sorry. That is one of the most important qualifications, that one should be able to bear the instructions, however bitter they may be, which will easily see that what kind of purity this Srimad Bhagavatam is talking about. So, Manda Bhagya in this Kali Yuga, we are unfortunate and upadhrita, and above all, upadhrita means disturbed. The mind is disturbed. We cannot control our mind. We cannot even sit in the temple or listen to a pravachan or participate in a kirtan. So many times we have noticed when somebody is singing the glories of the holy name or speaking the glories of the holy name, we see that some people, even in the temple environment, sitting in the back or on the sides, they're talking mundane things. They cannot even restrain themselves for the 2 hours that they come to the temple and try to be fully attentive, absorb their minds and thoughts and activities for the seva of the Supreme Lord. That is upadritaha, that is disturbance, that we are all inept to in this Kali Yuga. So, but there is a great hope, as the previous verse stated, that this Srimad Bhagavatam, Krishna left. When he left this for us. He left this as the pure and brilliant sun for the benefit of mankind. So Sukadeva Goswami was a liberated soul even when he was in the womb of his mother. And he did not undergo any sort of spiritual training after his birth, because from previously he was liberated. Now, one may ask, how was he previously liberated? So we have to go to some millennium when the first speaking of the Srimad Bhagavatam was done, none other than the Vaishnava Naam Yathashambhu. Lord Shiva is the first speaker of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Many of us don't know that. So in this particular pastime of Lord Shiva was in Vraj Mandal. Actually, Lord Shiva is present in Vraj Bhumi, Vrindavan, in the Vraj Mandal, in the Chorasi course of Vraj Mandal, in many places, because he's very dear to Krishna. Some of the prominent places that I can immediately think of, like in Vrindavan itself, he's present as Gopeshwar Mahadev. In Mathura, he is present as Bhuteshwar Mahadev. In Gokul, he is present as Chintaharan Mahadev. In Kamyavan, Vraj, he is present as Kameshwar Mahadev. In Radhakund, he is present as Kundaleshwar Mahadev. In Mansi Ganga, Govardhan, he is present as Chakleshwar Mahadev. In Nandagaon, he is present as Nandeshwar Mahadev. So, like this, he is present all over Vraj, because Krishna can never stay without his devotee, and his devotee can never stay without Krishna. This is something amazing. So, Shankar Mahadev one time was speaking Srimad Bhagavatam, just like how Naradji had received it from the spiritual world. Shivji had received it from the spiritual world, because he is a Mahajan. And on all Mahajan or Mahabhagavats, the Bhagavat is always in their heart. It manifests through their lotus mouth when they are speaking or they are addressing somebody for their benefit. So one day, Parvati is always one amazing quality of Mother Parvati is that she is always very eager to hear Hari Katha from her husband. Therefore, Lord Shiva, in the Ramayana, it is said that Lord Shiva glorifies Parvati Devi. He says, Dhanya Dhanya Giri Raj Kumari, Puchata Hari Katha Prasanga, Surasuri Pavani, Tribhuvani Ganga. Maybe I'm missing a line or two here or there, but the essence being that Shivji tells Parvati Devi that Dhanya, Dhanya, you are so glorious, my dear wife Parvati. Oh, daughter of Parvat Raja. Therefore, she is known as Parvati. She was the daughter of the mountain. So she is known as Parvati. So he says, Dhanya, Dhanya, Giriraj Kumari. Giriraj also means mountain. Giri means mountain. Raj means one who is the king of mountains. So of course in Raj, Giriraj means Krishna himself. So being the daughter of the king of mountains, Giriraj Kumari, Dhanya Dhanya, you're all glorious. You're not glorious because you're taking care of my needs. Maybe you're cooking for me or massaging my feet or taking care of my needs. Na Baba na. He says, Dhanya Dhanya, all glories to you, because Puchata Hari Katha Prasanga, you're always asking me the Hari Katha Prasanga, the pastimes of Sri Hari. And that is why this particular, due to you, when I speak Hari Katha, then sometimes all the different devotees and the rishis and the demigods assemble when I start Hari Katha, and you are instrumental. Because of that, it is Sursuri. Sursuri means another name of Ganga. Pavani, Tribhuvani Ganga. It is as good as the flow of the Ganges that purifies the three worlds. So like that, Lord Shiva is praising his wife Parvati Mata. So Parvati Mata once had this desire to hear about Srimad Bhagavatam. So Lord Shiva, actually tells her, okay, Parvati, I will tell you Srimad Bhagavatam. Please sit next to me. And I will be in meditation. I will be closing my eyes. And I will be meditating on Satyam Param Dhimahi, which is also the last line of the first verse of the Mangalacharan of Srimad Bhagavatam, which we will be entering very soon, maybe after of 1 or 2 sessions. Because this is so in-depth. Actually speaking, the first canto or the first verse and Srimad Bhagavatam is actually the true commentary on the Vedanta Sutra. For those who, to understand Vedanta, Vyasadeva had written many Vedic literatures. First, he compiled the Rig Veda. Rig Veda was so complicated that when he was speaking, his disciples found a lot of complications. So then he divided that Rig Veda into 3 more Vedas: Atharva Veda, Sam Veda, and Yajur Veda. And then, based on those 4 Vedas, he started speaking in the assembly of his disciples, and the disciples sat next to him at his lotus feet and started hearing. And that process is known as Upanishads, meaning the Upanishads are the commentaries or the explanation of the Vedas, which Ved Vyas, actually, he did not write those. His disciples, hearing those, they wrote them down. And that is why we have the Upanishads today in a written form of a Shastra. But originally, Upanishad means to sit close and hear from Guru. That is the actual original meaning of the word Upanishad. Nishad means to sit, and Upa means to sit near. To sit near who? To sit near the Guru. So, in spite of his explanation and everything, he had to condense the entire Vedas into a sort of a sutras. Sutras are small acronyms. Those acronyms or small verses are known as Vedanta Sutra. Vedanta comprises of 2 words, Ved plus Anta. Ved means the Vedas, and Vedas plus Anta means the conclusion. Like many times those who understand Hindi, somebody is coming and telling us a long story. So then what we say, Are bhai ye batao ant mein kya hua? Ultimately what happened? What is the conclusion of this long story? Can you please tell me? So similarly, for all the scholarly personalities, what Vedyas did, entire Vedas, he compiled them into huge encyclopedia with the millions of words condensed into what is known as Vedanta Sutra. And the true commentary or the pure commentary of the Vedanta Sutra is Srimad Bhagavatam. The true commentary or the pure commentary or the true essence of the Vedanta Sutra is Srimad Bhagavatam. And Srimad Bhagavatam's first verse is actually analogous or a further insight into the Gayatri Mantra. So all these things we will, as per our knowledge and our realizations, we will share with this audience. who I know are serious and are enthusiastic to hear, which is one of the qualities of serving Srimad Bhagavatam. So, as I was saying, Sukadeva Goswami, despite that he was a completely liberated person, situated in a transcendental position above the three modes, he was attracted to the transcendental rasa of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now, how did that rasa come? So we have to go back to that Bhagavatam incident of Lord Shiva and Parvati. So Lord Shiva had told Parvati Mata that, look, Parvati, as per your desire, I will be speaking Srimad Bhagavatam. And Srimad Bhagavatam is such an amazing treatise that once I start speaking, I will go into a trance. That's what happens to pure devotees, either when they are reciting Srimad Bhagavatam or hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. That is the effect of Srimad Bhagavatam. And what I would like you to do is, as I continue speaking, I just want you to give me some indication that you are listening carefully by at least nodding your head and making a noise. Ha ha, aha, aha, aha. And Parvati Devi said, certainly I will do that. Now, when Lord Shiva started speaking the Srimad Bhagavatam, as soon as he started, he went into the Mangalacharan shlokas, just on the introduction of Srimad Bhagavatam, just glorifying Bhagavatam. He went into a trance, and Mother Parvati started nodding her head and saying aha, aha every few minutes, so that her husband would understand. And Lord Shiva had made a very, very strict exception that nobody is allowed to hear this except you, Parvati. So that was the condition, and they went into a secluded place in Vraj and sat under a tree, and Lord Shiva started glorifying Srimad Bhagavatam and speaking Srimad Bhagavatam. Now, while Lord Shiva was doing this and Mother Parvati was listening to Srimad Bhagavatam, there was one parrot sitting on top of the tree where husband and wife, husband Lord Shiva was speaking and wife Mother Parvati was listening to Srimad Bhagavatam. This parrot also was eager to hear katha, especially from a pure devotee's mouth. So this parrot, or sukha, in Sanskrit parrot is known as sukha, was listening very eagerly. And then during the midst of the katha, somehow or the other, due to the influence of Yogamaya, Mother Parvati fell asleep. And the parrot sitting on the tree was thinking, oh, what shall we do now? Shivji will wake up. He will break his trance. Srimad Bhagavatam will stop. And perhaps he will get upset at Mother Parvati for going to sleep during such an important katha. So I must do something. So he, of course, this parrot being a parrot of Vraj, had many siddhis. And this parrot imitated the voice of Mother Parvati and started doing sadhu, sadhu. Sadhu, sadhu means good, good. As Lord Shiva kept on speaking Srimad Bhagavatam, the parrot imitating Mother Parvati started saying that. So Lord Shiva, unbroken in his Srimad Bhagavatam recitation, continued, and the parrot relished it. Then, at the end of the recitation, when Lord Shiva woke up from his trance, he saw that Mother Parvati was sleeping. Then he started wondering, started looking around. He didn't see any human beings. He looked up and he saw a parrot. And of course, Lord Shiva, being a very, very Siddha Purusha, himself, he is also a very big yogi. He understood that this parrot was imitating Mother Parvati. So he got very upset. And without his permission, this parrot sat in his speaking of Srimad Bhagavatam, because not everybody is capable of hearing Srimad Bhagavatam or qualified to hear Srimad Bhagavatam. Just like when we go to school, college, universities, even for material subject matters, if we put a student of the 5th grade into the 10th grade or into the 12th grade or undergraduate or a bachelor's grade class, will that student qualify? No. So similarly, that upset Lord Shiva, and he started chasing, wanting to kill that parrot. As we all know that Lord Shiva, when he gets very upset, his third eye opens. And he was about to do that, and he started chasing that parrot. And that parrot flew a long ways. And Lord Shiva, with his siddhis, followed the parrot. And ultimately, that parrot entered Badrik Ashram. And he entered the kutia, or the hut of Vyasdev, where his wife was there. And when his wife yawned, the parrot went into Vyasdev's wife's mouth. And then Lord Shiva, coming, looking for that parrot, could not find back, disappointed, he returned. And this Sukha, who entered the wife of Vyasdev, took birth as Sukadev Goswami. Now, one interesting, very important fact that I must mention, this Sukha, or that parrot that was listening to the Srimad Bhagavatam narration from the lotus mouth of Lord Shiva, is none other than the personal pet parrot of Srimati Radharani. Now, whoever is a very close associate or a pure devotee of the Lord is always, at every step, is enthusiastic to hear the pastimes of their Lord, their Master, whom they live for, whom they die for. Again and again, wherever there is a chance, wherever there is Hari Katha, they always, like for example, one very good example comes to mind is Hanumanji. It is said that wherever Ramayana is being spoken, Hanumanji is there, he is present. He is always present in any Ram Katha. So is it that because Hanumanji doesn't know Ramayana? No, Hanumanji in one sense is personified Ramayana if he starts speaking Ramayana, because he knows each and every incident, he knows each and every bhav, he knows each and every leela of Ramayana, he knows the heart of his master Lord Ramachandra. But why does he want to listen? Like Kagbhushan, another ardent, great devotee of Lord Ramachandra in the form of a crow, is eternally present in Kailash. Him and Lord Shiva, they are relishing Ramayana. Kagbhushan ji eternally recites the Ramayana. And therefore Krishna in the Damodar Leela, when Krishna is naughty, and when Mother Yashoda sees that he has broken all these butter pots climbing on top of a grinding motor and reaching to the butter pots that are hanging on the roof, and he is not only breaking those pots, eating, but he is also feeding it to the monkeys and crows. That upset her quite a bit. But then our acharyas like Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and Sanatan Goswami, who are in Krishna's Nitya Leela as the parikars or the kinkaris or the manjaris of Radharani, they exactly know why Krishna did that. Because Krishna wanted to feed them the best of the best food, which is makhan, Makhan is like very expensive. Even today, if you go to India and you try to buy pure makhan from a Gir guy, it costs about 2,500 rupees a kilo. 25 rupees under 2,500. And sabji like potatoes or tomatoes cost 20 rupees a kilo, 40 rupees a kilo. Is there any comparison? But Krishna wanted to feed the best of the best to the monkeys, because in his incarnation as Lord Ramachandra, these monkeys are the one who lived on roots and fruits, barely eating anything, and assisting him in his building of the bridge and going to Lanka. Krishna wanted to express thanks to them by feeding the best of the best foods to them with his own hands. Why the crows? So Sanatana Goswami explains, it is because Krishna feels indebted. And as Lord Ramachandra, his servant Kagbhushan as a crow is constantly reciting Ramayan, constantly glorifying him. So Krishna says, nobody wants to feed the crows with good things. People generally throw garbage so that the crows can come and eat it. But no, I will feed them with the best of the makhan from the best of the cows that are in my own Nanda Bhavan, my father's house. From that, the makhan I will personally want, the makhan that I eat, the butter that I eat, I will feed you feed them with them. So all these things we can only understand this Hari Leela when we hear from the right source. So like this, he was already liberated. Despite his being completely liberated, although he was, after being born, he did not take any sanskaras. He was already attracted to the transcendental rasa. This means the transcendental rasa of Vraja. There is a secret here, because he, as the parrot of Radharani, has witnessed all the madhurya or the sweet pastimes of Krishna and Radharani especially, which is adored by liberated souls who sing the Vedic hymns. The Supreme Lord's pastimes are more attractive to liberated souls than to mundane people. The Supreme Lord is not impersonal, like the Mayavadis say that there is no God, I am God, Sarvamidam Khalo Brahman, everything is spiritual, I am He, so aham. The Supreme Lord is not impersonal, He is a person. It is only possible to carry on transcendental pastimes or leelas with a person. Anything that is impersonal, how can you even conduct a small leela by serving a glass of water? Supposing if I walk into your house and you are so kind, anybody or any guest who comes, you would like to serve them with a nice, in the summer, a nice cold glass of water or some sharbat or some cold drink or some nice juice. But you can only serve that person if you can see that person. If you cannot see that person, if that person is unmanifest or nirgun, how can you serve that person? How can you relish that sweet interaction? If that person is a real person who comes into your house, he accepts your service of the nice cooling cold drink or the nice cooling, refreshing mango juice, and he will say, drink it. It is so hot outside, but it's amazing. Thank you so much for serving me this refreshing drink. So that thanks expressed and the service rendered is a pastime. It is a leela between two persons. So similarly, those Mayavadis or those persons who want to kill God, those who want to think that they are God, then they will never be able to understand or relish such pastimes. And they will throw them away as some fairy tale or illusion. And that is why they are called as Mayavadis. They say there is no Krishna, there is no Devi, there is no Devata, there is no world. Jagat Mithya, Brahma Satya. This whole world is false. There is no such thing as any guna or akar. Everything is formless. Because we are seeing forms, because we are seeing a particular shape, whether it is the table, the chair, the computer, or we are seeing the deity form of Krishna or Shiva or Lord Jagannath, etc. We are seeing it because we are in a dream state, because we are illusioned, because we are seeing things that do not exist. Just like sometimes, due to illusion, one is seeing a rope that is hanging outside on a tree, and when it is a little dark, we think it is a snake, but actually it is a rope. Or we misconstrue a rope for the snake. Either ways, our Vaishnava acharyas explained that supposing if you are seeing a rope and misconstruing it for a snake, then the real object snake has to be existing somewhere in this creation for us to mistake it as a rope. But if the snake itself is not in existence, then how can that example be proper? So even in these examples that the Mayavadis use, that everything that we see in this material world is an illusion, it is a dream. It is explained in the Shastras that even in a dream state, those objects exist somewhere in reality. Please try to understand this concept. I'm taking you a little bit deeper than necessary sometimes that we hear from other sources in normal temple lectures. When we sometimes in the night we are in a deep sleep and we dream that we are flying, or like we are like birds, like an eagle. So number one, although I am not an eagle and I'm getting the dream of an eagle that I'm flying, it is a dream. But eagles exist, yes or no? The answer is yes. It's the reality that eagles exist. Another part of the dream is I'm flying over a gold mountain, or I'm flying over a beautiful, huge mountain with snow. So is that reality? Yes, it is a dream. But is there a mountain that is covered with gold? Yes, there is. Mount Sumeru, which it is not in the purview or the discovery of the common man on this earth. Mount Sumeru is there. Or the snow-capped mountains, there are existing. But in my dream, I'm seeing them. So for me, it is a dream, but the existence of the snow-capped mountains is there. It is a reality. So similarly, when they say that Jagat Mithya, Brahma Satya, then they have a very false understanding of that Vedic verse. Jagat Mithya means because it is so atomic in nature in life, therefore the Vaishnavas explain that it is as good as false. But the fact is that it is existing. Janmadi Yasya. Even if it is living just like a mosquito, when a mosquito is born, some of the mosquitoes, their whole life is about 24 hours. So our life is about 100 hours, 100 years. Their 100 years is comprised within the sunset to the next sunset of the next day. So for them, they are born on a particular day at sunset, as an example, and then they grow from that little lava, from those eggs. They come out, they're very, very small. They grow, their growth happens. By midday, they are 50 years human life. And by the end of a sunset, they're already gone. Death has already come to them. So in one sense, their life is so minuscule or so atomic compared to the life of the human beings or the demigods. It is as good as nothing. Just like one can say that if somebody has got millions of dollars, what is one penny? It is as good as nothing. But it is still there. So this Jagat Mithya concept and their explanation is very, very incorrect. And as we study Srimad Bhagavatam, all these concepts will become very, very clear. So therefore, the Supreme Lord is not impersonal. Those who think they are impersonal, they will never relish. And the Mayavadis will never study the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is actually the original and authentic commentary of the Vedanta Sutra. And Vedanta Sutra is the actual condensed version of all the Vedas. They will study the Vedas, but they will never study Srimad Bhagavatam. Because Srimad Bhagavatam is full of pastimes of the Supreme Lord, and the purity is there, it is present. And if they do not believe in the existence or the personalism of the Supreme Lord, then how can they relish it? So nigama kalpa nigama kalpa taro galitam phalam shukha mukhad drava amrutam samyutam pibat bhagavatam rasamalayam muhuraho rasika bhuvi bhavaka. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, these transcendental pastimes of the Lord are narrated, and the narration is systematically depicted by Srila Sukadeva Goswami. Srila Sukadeva Goswami stayed in his mother's womb for almost 32 years, it is said, for a prolonged period. And Vyasadeva, that parrot who Lord Shiva chased, entered his wife, and when the time she became pregnant, and then Vyasadeva requested that please come out, my dear boy, and he refused to come out. He refused to come out because the reasoning he gave was that once I come out, I will fall into Maya. And which is so true. Again, I refer to a very nice verse in the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Perhaps it is the 31st chapter, if my memory is good, or somewhere in that range, when Kapil Dev is instructing Mother Devhuti. Kapil Dev is an incarnation of the Supreme Lord, and he gives a wonderful philosophical and truths of bhakti to his mother, who's asking him questions. And in that Kapil Dev, in that 31st chapter or in that range, it is mentioned that whatever our so-called modern scientists have explained that we study in our biology class about the inception of the embryo and what happens on the 5th day, what happens in 1 month, what happens in 3 months, what happens in 6 months in the womb of the mother, all that has already been described in detail in the Srimad Bhagavatam, in that chapter. But in that chapter, one amazing thing that is described is there is a conversation which we don't learn in school, colleges, and universities. While the fetus is in the mother's womb, in every human being, even today as we speak, as per the Srimad Bhagavatam, the Supreme Lord gives darshan to that little child, to the human fetus, to that embryo. And the Supreme Lord, by his yogic potency, makes the child remind of his last 100 births. And the child prays in a very pitiful condition to Krishna, oh my dear Krishna, somehow or the other you have appeared in front of me and you have showed me my last 100 births, and I'm very ashamed at the births that I've lived and how I've wasted my human form of life. Now when I come out of my mother's womb, I will take to the pure devotional process of bhakti, and by your mercy this will be my last birth. This is how the fetus prays. When we come to that third canto, that chapter, we will be reading about that incident and we will be discussing it. So at that time, Krishna, showing the child, for one moment he disappears and the child performs his prayers in the mother's womb. So Thakur Bhakti Vinod has compiled a wonderful bhajan that kind of describes the Srimad Bhagavatam, this particular incident of the Srimad Bhagavatam, wherein he has composed a bhajan in Bengali, and I will perhaps share a verse or two with you that makes sense based on the discussion that we are carrying on. He says that bhuliya tomare samsare ashiya peye nana vida vyatha tomara charane ashiyachi ami boli bo dukkhere katha boli bo dukkhere kotha bhuliya tomare samsare ashiya. I've forgotten you, oh dear Krishna, and now I will take birth. I have taken birth in this material world, samsare ashiya. Peye nana vida vyatha. And I'm going through the different miseries, adhyatmik, adibhautik, and adidaivik kleshas. Tomara charane ashiachi ami bolibo dukkhere katha, dukkhera kotha. And now I'm sitting at your lotus feet. Bhaktivinoda Thakur has written this bhajan in his old age. So he's saying that now in my old age, I'm sitting at your lotus feet and telling you the tale of my woe, or telling you the stories of my misery. Bolibo dukkhera kotha. And then he remembers, exactly as Sukdev Goswami is mentioning through Kapil Dev and Mother Dehuti in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Janani jotore chillama jakhon, Vishama bandhana pashe, ekbar Prabhu dekha diya more, vanshila ei din dashe. He's saying, Janani jotore, when I was tied to the umbilical cord of my mother in my mother's womb, chillama jakhon, Vishama bandhana pashe, was tied in a very, very constricted, very, very bad position. As we know, the position that the fetus is in a very, very bent form, constricted position. And Srimad Bhagavatam describes very, very bitterly but so truthfully that the fetus stays in that position in the blood, urine, and pus of the mother in that womb for almost 8 or 9 months. And when the mother eats pungent foods, the fetus is not able to kind of digest it, because a lot of pregnant women have cravings. They want to eat something sour, they want to eat something bitter, they want to eat something very, very spicy. And all these things the child feels as it comes to a certain level of consciousness. It feels the pain because of the heavy spices. As we know, even when a child is born, immediately is not administered any solid foods. It takes some time. You cannot even administer anything else except the mother's milk. That itself is a complete nourishment until it comes to a certain stage or number of months. Then the child is able to slowly accept solid foods, which has got, even when we are feeding a small child with solid foods, it's very simple. We do not put a lot of chili powder or a lot of spices. So can you imagine that umbilical cord that is connected? It is like a feeding tube that goes to the fetus, and it cannot even say anything. Even after it is born, the child, simply because it has wet its pampers, it cries. It has passed stool, it cries. Because sometimes the uncomfortable situation, some mosquito is biting or some kind of insects are biting, it cries. Because it is hungry, it cries. Because the child cannot even express that daddy, mummy, papa, mama, something is biting me, or I wet my pampers, I need to be changed. For so many months, even after the birth, the child's only communication is crying. So similarly, even that is not available in the mother's womb. So how much the child is suffering? This is expressed in the Srimad Bhagavatam so nicely and so truthfully. And then it is Bhaktivinoda Thakur in this bhajan is saying, Bishama Bandhana Pashe, it is Bisham Bandhan. It is such a tight space. Bandhan means like a noose. It is like a tight tying, like Ek bar Prabhu dekha diya more banchile ei din dashe. One time, Prabhuji, oh Krishna, you showed me, you gave me your darshan, and banchile ei din dashe. And you gave me up. And then Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying, Takono bhavinu janama paiya, koribo bhajana tava, janama hoilo podi maya jale, na hoilo gyan lava. And then the time came when I was pushed by the airs in my mother's womb, and I was pushed by the air, and I came out of my mother's womb, and I took birth. And just before that, I had prayed that I will koribo bhajana tava. I will now, due to this miserable condition of birth and death that I have been taking since time immemorial, since Anadikal, I will take to the pure process of bhakti. I will do your bhajan. He says, but janama hoilo, as soon as I was born, pori maya jale. I fell into the net of Maya, the three modes of material nature. Na hoilo gyana lava, and I did not even attain an iota of spiritual knowledge. And how, in what form did Maya come? Adarera chele, swajanera kole, hashiya katanu kala, hashiya katanu kala. Janaka janani, snehete bhuliya, samsara lagilo bhalo. Janaka janani, snehete bhuliya, samsara lagilo bhalo. Samsara lagilo bhalo. Adarera chele swajanera kole. With so much reverence and so much love, my relatives, my mother, my father, they always, I'm a little child and they're putting me on their lap. Jananaka janani snehete bhuliya. Due to the love of my father and mother that they rendered on me, samsara lagilo bhalo. I felt that this world is the best place. All of them, my relatives came, my uncles, my aunts, all of them, swajanera kole. Bhaktivinoda Thakur is using the word swajanera. Swajanera means my relatives. Swajana. Kole. Kole means in their laps. Hasiya kati nukal. I passed my time by simply smiling and giggling, because when they started playing with me on their lap, and I started giggling. And then he says, Krame dine dine balaka hoiya, bhelinu balaka saha, bhelinu balaka saha. Or kichu dine gyana upajilo, patha podi aharaha. Or kichu dine gyana upajilo, patha podi aharaha. Patha podi aharaha. And as soon as I started to grow up a little bit, krame dine dine, as the days started passing, balaka hoya, I became a little boy or a child. Bhelinu balaka, so I started playing with other boys. Or kichu dine gyana upajilo, I was admitted to the school and I started studying, doing my lessons, patha podi ahar, and I became very much engrossed in studying. All my time was going in my homework and in my school, and I was a very good student. And then, as I grew up, I graduated. Then what happened? Vidyara gaurave brahmi deshe deshe dhana uparjana kori, dhana uparjana kori. Swajana palana koriye kamane, swajana palana koriye kamane, bhulinu tomare hari. Swajana palana koriye kamane, bhulinu tomare hari, bhulinu tomare hari. Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying, Vidyara Gaurave, Brahmi Deshe Deshe. I graduated, I went to the best schools and colleges, Stanford, Harvard, Oxford, became, even before I graduated, now we see they are already getting invitation from big Fortune 500 companies. They are hired with 6-figure packages and so many other perks. And then what is the result? Dhana uparjana kari. I started making money. And as soon as that happened, this is a practical bhajan that was compiled about 150 years ago by Bhaktivinoda Thakurji. Swajana palana kori ekamane bhulina tumare hari. And once I started making money, a nice youthful boy who has graduated, who has got a wonderful job or a business, making so much money, automatically now the parents are getting him married or her married, whatever the case is. And then now I started my own family. And I was taking care of them very nicely. Swajana palana. Again, swajana means my children, my wife, extended to my parents, to the family. Kori Ekmane. I was a good son, a good husband, a good father. Ekmane, with one pointed attention. I did everything for them. They would put them with the best home, nice toys, nice clothes, nice everything. But what was the result? Bhuli nu tumhare hari. I spent so much time earning money and swajana palana. Palan means to take care of the family. Swajana. Kori ek mane. I studiously and nicely took care of my family, and because of that, I never had time for you, O Hari. And then Bhaktivinoda Thakur finally is saying, Bardhya khon bhakti binod kandiya kandiya ati kandiya ati na bhojiya tore din britha gelo na bhajiya tore din britha gelo ekhone ki hoibe goti ekhone na bhajiya tore din britha gelo ekone ki hoibe goti ekone ki hoibe goti. Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying, Bardhyakya ekon, now in my old age, takana bhavin, now what will I do? Ekone ki hoibe goti, dina britha gelo. My whole life, all the days, britha gelo, they have been wasted. Ekhone ki hoibe gati. Now what will happen to me? This is what is happening to all of us. This bhajan is eternal. Just like Srimad Bhagavatam is eternal. And the bhajans written by these pure devotees. Bhaktivinoda Thakur is Kamla Manjari. He is a very, very close associate of Srimati Radharani. Who is like Lord Shiva. The Bhagavatam is manifest within his heart. The truths of Bhagavatam he has presented in little bits and pieces in his simple language in Bengali as bhajans. It is manifested as bhajans. And he is giving the essence of Srimad Bhagavatam here, of this particular context that we are speaking about. That how, even right now, we see that there are grandparents and elderly persons who are so addicted to watching TV more than taking to spiritual life. What will happen? Ekon ki hoibe gati. While watching TV or while playing with grandchildren, if they simply give up their life, if the time comes, ekon ki hoibe gati. Now what will happen to them? They will again be reborn in this material world. Because Krishna says, Yam yam vapi smaranam bhavam tajeti ante kalevaram. Whatever your consciousness is at the time of death, one will attain that destination. So this is very, very heavy dose. Like we said, bitter medicine. Something that we have to think very deeply. So Sukadeva Goswami did not want to come out for fear of becoming controlled by Maya. Vyasdev said, no, Baba, you won't. I promise you. But he did not listen to his father. So then Krishna himself had to come and request, while Sukadeva Goswami was in the womb of his mother, please come out. Maya will not touch you. I'm saying so. That Satyam Param Dhimahi, Krishna himself said that. So then Sukadeva Goswami came out. And it is interesting, he came out in a very, very young form, like a teenager. And he simply, as soon as he came out of his mother's womb, now we have to understand that some of our mental experiences we have to set aside. That how can a 16-year-old young boy from in that condition come out of the mother's womb? So all these things are inconceivable. It is also known as achintya. But if we are going to take the proper essence of the instruction and of the Leela, then we will benefit. And we have to, like I said, the very first qualification is we have to submissively hear without trying to make dry logical arguments. So Sukadeva Goswami, as soon as he got out of his mother's womb, he started walking in that naked situation, not even being clothed, just like a child when born from a mother is completely naked. And like that, Vyasadeva ran behind him, but he did not stop. He did not stop. Vyasadeva, it is mentioned here in the first chapter as we will be going through. Yam pravrajantam anupeta peta krityam dvaipayana vira katarajuha putreti tanmaya taro abhinedus tam munimanoto asmi. Vyasadeva said, oh my son, stop. I have to finish your proper sanskars. I have to do the Annaprasan sanskar. I have to do the Janoi sanskar. I have to do all the Brahmanical sanskars for you. Please stop. And as he was asking him to stop, the trees around him started vibrating that sound. Please stop. But he did not stop. So like this, the reason why I mentioned Bhaktivinoda Thakur's song here is the same thing, that every human child in the mother's womb feels like Sukadeva Goswami. But the difference between Sukadeva Goswami and the ordinary child is, the ordinary child is completely, the moment he comes out from his mother's womb, it is also said by modern science, there is a particular hormone with the name oxytocin, if I'm not mistaken. If especially in this group, if there is a doctor, maybe they can later on confer with me or tell me that time this oxytocin hormone secretes these particular liquids in the area of the womb, so that when the child is coming out, the mother, it acts like an analgesic, and the mother's pain is subsidized due to the expansion of the cavity, and that helps the birth. Otherwise the mother will die a natural death out of pain if that particular hormone or that particular secretion doesn't happen. And due to that heavy dose of that secretion, which even the little fetus feels, that memory is wiped out completely. Just like somebody who takes a very lethal dose of a particular chemical or a substance, one can lose their memory. Like I remember when I was studying chemistry in school, there are certain, especially organic chemistry, like methanol is considered very, very dangerous amongst all the alcohols. It can, just by even taking the vapors, one can become blind and one can lose the memory. It is so powerful. So there are certain substances, so that substance has a profound effect on the memory of that little child that is just born. And that is why those 100 births that the child had remembered in the womb of the mother is forgotten. And that is also a certain mercy of Krishna, because if, for example, you and I remember our last 100 births, then do you think we can comfortably live our present life? Because we don't know what kind of ugly things we may have done in our last lives. Supposing in even our present life, if we have done something very horrible, and if nobody knows except us, then sometimes, or most of the time, as long as we remember it, we are bothered by it because of our consciousness. It bothers us. Depression and other things can seep in because of certain memories. So Krishna, being so kind, he has actually is the source of everything, even the human form of life and all the species. He has meticulously constructed in his world, which is so perfect. So that is why Sukadeva Goswami did not want to turn back. So in the Srimad Bhagavatam, The transcendental pastimes of the Lord are narrated, and these narrations have been perfectly been spoken by Sukadeva Goswami. Why? Because Nigama Kalpa Taro Galitam Phalam. Nigam means the Vedas. The tree, the Vedas is compared to a tree. Nigama Kalpa Taro Galitam Phalam. Taro means, Kalpa Taro means the desire tree. So the Vedas has been compared to a desire tree. Desire tree is also known as Kalpataru. Kalpa means whatever you are asking that tree, whatever you imagine, kalpa, kalpana. And when you're standing under that desire tree will magically give you whatever you desire. That is why it is called Kalpataro. Chintamani, Prakar Sadmashu, Kalpataro, Lakshat Vriteshu, Surbhir Abirpalayantam, Lakshmi Sahasrashata Sambrama Sevyamanam, Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Lord Brahma describes in the Brahma Samhita the spiritual world known as Golok Vrindavan. You can see that in my background. That is Golok Vrindavan depicted in this particular picture of the Srimad Bhagavatam Canto 1 cover. This is the original cover that Srila Prabhupada had put on his Srimad Bhagavatam when he came from India. And Golok Vrindavan is like a lotus, as you can see that this is the petals of the lotus right there, my cursor, if you can follow it. So that dham, Chintamani, that dham is full of touchstone. It is not ordinary dust that we find on the streets of Toronto or Chicago. And it is full of Kalpataro. Every tree is a desire tree there. Lakshat Vriteshu, by the lakhs or millions, this Chintamani Dham Golok Vrindavan has desire trees. So Nigama Kalpataro, this Nigama Kalpa, this tree of Vedas is like a fruit, a desire tree that can fulfill one's desire. Now, how is Nigam or Vedas can fulfill one's desire? How beautifully this verse is composed. This verse will come again, and I will again try to dive deep into it. The Vedas can fulfill the desires of everyone, material and spiritual. Because the Vedas can give you dharma, artha, kam, and moksha. The Vedas can give you methods of how we can perform our religiosity. And that way, if somebody is desiring to become wealthy, then that artha will come to them. And due to the artha, one will desire, okay, now I have so much money, I would like to buy a bigger house. I would like to buy many nice cars. I would like to buy many vacation homes. I would like to buy this, like to buy that, many material things. So the karma kand, vidhis, and satisfying the Devi Devtas is present in the Vedas. So Vedas, as you are always asking, supposing if you are standing under a wish tree and you say, my dear wish tree, can you give me $10? The wish tree can easily give you $10. And somebody else will say, my dear wish tree, can you give me $5 trillion? And the wish tree will immediately give $5 trillion. And somebody else can ask that wish tree, my dear wish tree, can you give me the highest of the highest, the purest of the purest, that will stop the pangs of birth, death, old age, and disease? Can you give me the highest of the highest spiritual worlds and the highest of the highest personalities, Sri Krishna, and the highest of the highest of his associates? The Vedas are capable of delivering that as well. So we have to be careful what we ask for. So dharma, artha, kam, and moksha are also the components of Vedas. So in Dhanurved, for example, Ved means knowledge. So the art or knowledge of Dhanur means archery. So if one wants to learn archery, there are chapters of how to become a very good archer in the Vedas. The Dhanurved was taught by Dronacharya to Arjuna, to the Pandavas as an example. Ayurved is a part of the Vedas. Everybody talks about Ayurvedic medication, Ayurvedic medicines. So Ayur means what? Life, Ayushya. Ved means knowledge about that. So those are certain sections of the Vedas. So if one wants a healthy life, keep yourself healthy, then all the yogic asanas, etc., are there in the Vedas. But the Vedas, like a wishful or a wish fulfilling desire tree, can deliver much more than the material things. That is why the words that have been used here is Nigama Kalpa Taro. This tree, the desire tree, is like the Vedas. But what is Srimad Bhagavatam? It is the Galitam Phalam. Nigama Kalpo Taro Galitam Phalam. It is the most ripened fruit of the Vedas. Just see, absorb this, and just see how you will relish it. Each and every word. Nigama Kalpa Taro. Nigam means Vedas, Kalpa Taro means the desire tree. So the Vedas can fulfill all desires, material and spiritual. Even different delineations in the spiritual desires. If one wants to become a Mayavad, Vedas can lead you that way. That, okay, I want to become God, or I want to become Soham. And then the Vedas will immediately transform your understanding through the grammatical treatises in the Vedas that will lead you to the conclusion that there is no God, I am God, everything is Nirgun, there is no form. And the Vedas will explain all the Vedas and the certain commentaries and the verses will grammatically, they're all correct, and the interpretations would come in such a way they would be manifest. So like a desire tree. So if you stand in a desire tree and say, my dear desire tree, I don't believe that this whole world is true. I don't believe that there is Krishna, or I don't believe that we exist. So then the Veda will say, Tathastu. That wish fulfilling Vedic tree through the verses will make you a Pakka disciple of the Mayavads, become a Shankaracharya, the disillusioned disciples of Shankaracharya. Because Shankaracharya propagated Brahmavadism, but he had a particular reason, which we will explain later on when the time arises. But at the end, Shankaracharya Pad, who is Lord Shiva, he says, Bhaj Govinda, Bhaj Govinda, Bhaj Govinda Mudamate. Samprapte samhita kale, nahi rakshakti dukh karne. Oh, my dear disciples, oh, you foolish disciples, Mudamate, your intelligence, foolish intelligence, Mudamate, Bhaja Govinda, please worship Govinda. Samprapte samhita kale, at the end of your time, when time comes, and when you're going to start reading all those Vedic verses and trying to logically argue the meanings grammatically of Vyakran, of grammar, Nyay, Adi, it's not going to protect you. Only your Krishna consciousness, thinking about Krishna, will protect you. And like that, he left his body, giving them the essence of Srimad Bhagavatam, which they could not catch. So Nigama Kalpa Taro, Galitam Phalam, Srimad Bhagavatam here is described as the most sweet, ripened fruit of this desire tree of Vedas. Why? Sukha Mukhad Drava Amrutam Samyutam. Because it emanated from the lips of Sukha. Sukha means Sukadev Goswami. And Sukha means the parrot of Radharani. Parrot of Radharani, her name is Sarika. That is the name, the female parrot. And Sukadev Goswami is an incarnation. So because those narrations of the pastimes of Krishna and his incarnations and the truths and the philosophical presentations came from the lips of Sukadev Goswami, the son of Vyasadeva, and Sukha, the parrot, the Sarika, the parrot of Radharani, it became very delicious. This is poetry. Beautiful. Have you all heard? Have we not heard that whenever there is the most ripened tree on a fruit like a guava or a mango, very, very sweet, but when a parrot comes and bites on it, that fruit becomes even more sweeter. If you have not heard that, perhaps we can hear that from our elders who will tell you that. But it is a fact. Sometimes when the experts pick a fruit from a tree that is ready to eat, they will examine the fruit before breaking it. And when they see that there is the markings of the beak of a parrot, they will say, aha, out of all these sweet fruits that we see that are ripened, this is the most ripened of all. So Srimad Bhagavatam, the analogy is given here as the ripened fruit of the tree of desire of Vedas. Sukha mukhat drava amrutam samyutam. Drava is nectar and it is amrut. It is such a nectar that brings deathlessness. Mrut means death and amrut means brings that. By taking it or by eating it or drinking it, one will attain deathlessness. And that's what Srimad Bhagavatam gives us, deathlessness. Ones who serve Srimad Bhagavatam with the proper attitude, with the proper mood, like Parikshit Maharaj, will attain the spiritual sky, Golok Vrindavan. And then Tattva Punarjanmaneti, Mameti, so Arjuna. That person will never come back in this material world of birth, death, old age, and disease, the repeated cycle or samsara. That is why it brings Amrut. Srimad Bhagavatam is Amrut. Drava samyutam amrutam. Nigama kalpa taro galitam phalam. Sukham mukha drava amrutam samyutam. Pibata Bhagavatam rasam alayam. This Bhagavatam, the analogy is given, is like not only a ripened fruit, but what is the quality of a ripened fruit? See, this is so much nectar in it. When you take a very ripe mango and you try to bite it or even cut it, lots of juice falls out, nectarian juice. And in India, we are used to it when we were children. In the mango season, parents used to bring nice nectarine mangoes when they were ready. I remember I used to help in the kitchen, simply squeeze a little bit. And we had a little pan, a pot, and then tie a little jute cloth with a string and then simply squeeze it out. And then the nectar used to, the amras. And then that amras was relished, especially when it is so sweet that even the little bowl that we had, we used to, lick it with our tongues, not leaving a single remnant of it. That is Srimad Bhagavatam, the analogy here. That Pibata Bhagavatam rasam alayam. This rasa, this nectar, is drunk by liberated souls. Pibata Bhagavatam rasam muhuro rasika bhuvi bhavuka. It is so much relished by rasika devotees. Those who have so much rasa or interest or attachment to the pastimes of the Supreme Lord, they also enjoy it. They are the ones who really enjoy it, and the rest of them also will enjoy it. So the subject matter of this is appealing to all classes of persons, rasika bhuvi bhavuka, including those who are seeking liberation like us, to relish the mellow of becoming a pure servant of the Lord. So this is the wonderful glorification of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So this Srimad Bhagavatam is not how one recites it, but who recites it. This Vedic fruit, which is a mature and ripe in knowledge, is spoken through the lips of Sukadeva Goswami, a highly realized personality. And it is not for his ability to recite the Bhagavatam exactly as he learned from his father. Actually, when Sukadeva Goswami ran away after he was born from his mother's womb, and his father Vyasadeva started chasing him, he would not stop and he left. After he went deep into the forest, he heard a few children playing. And they were actually singing some verses, some Sanskrit verses. And especially, there were a couple verses that attracted him so much that he stopped. And the essence of the verse was the beautiful description of Krishna, Bhagavatam Pida, Natu Vapu, how beautiful the Supreme Lord Krishna is. And he's such a beautiful dancer with a beautiful peacock feather, wearing the pitambar. And then in another verse, the boys who are playing was saying that there's nobody as merciful as Krishna, because even that witch or that demoness Putna who came in the form of a beautiful gopi tried to kill Krishna by smearing very, very obnoxious poison on her chest. And Krishna, seeing the sentiments that although he knew that she came to kill me, but he accepted that part of her sentiment that I want to feed Krishna milk with my own chest. And Krishna is so kind that he awarded her, after she was killed, Golok Vrindavan as a dhatri, as the position of a mother. Kam Dayava, such a personality where we will find in the entire creation. That is why indeed Krishna is Karuna Sindhu. He is an ocean of mercy. So when he heard this, Sukdev Goswami, he said, because he was already a realized soul, he said, where did you hear this? Of course, this is the Leela. Again, we have to understand that Krishna puts a person or an individual, especially his devotees, in sometimes in a very, very interesting situation, sometimes making them appear like they are ignorant, like Arjun. Arjun is a Sakha of Krishna. How can he be so ignorant? How can he be on the bodily concept that he could not understand the heart of Krishna, that he could not understand pure bhakti, that he could not understand the desire of Krishna? When Krishna says, kill all these people, doesn't matter if it's Dronacharya, your guru that taught you warfare, or Bhishmadev, who is your great grandsire, your grandfather, or all Kripacharya, who is your Kul Guru, and these cousins. So Arjuna was put into yogamaic delusion to make it appear that he's an ordinary human being. Oh, it's better not to fight. What is the use even if I fight and all my kinsmen and all my cousins, when they will be killed, and even if I'm the winner, I'm not going to enjoy this kingdom on their bloodshed. This is how he argued. He said, if all these soldiers and all these kings will be killed, there will be so many widows on the battlefield that will be created due to their death. And all these widows will be miserable. And some of these widows will be young widows, will be taken advantage by society. And they will be the progenies born out of them that will create ill in society, like unscrupulous men taking advantage of young widows. So he's Varuna Shankar, that is what the word he uses, which is similar to, analogous to the word bastards in English. So like this, Arjun is saying it's better for me to go to the forest and take a kamandal like a sannyasi and beg than to fight for my kingdom. I'm ready to leave this battlefield. So that is out of ignorance, because he was talking on a bodily concept. But how can Arjun be ignorant? He cannot be, but he was put into the delusion of Yogamaya. But you and I, we are under the illusion of Mahamaya. And we have explained the difference between Mahamaya and Yogamaya. Yogamaya does the service to Sri Krishna or any of his avatars for a spiritual reason. And Mahamaya does a particular act in this material world, putting the jivas into illusion for their own bodily sense gratification. That is the major difference, besides so many other differences. So when Sukadeva Goswami heard this, he asked, where did you learn this? Oh, he said, Vyasdev, he's our teacher. And then when he heard such wonderful verses, he said, I must learn this. Vyasdev is my father. So he turns around and he goes back to Vyasdev. And then Vyasdev, who had already manifested the Bhagavatam, remanifested the Bhagavatam, taught this Bhagavatam to Sukadeva Goswami. So it is not the ability of Sukadeva Goswami to recite the Bhagavatam exactly as he heard from his father, but for the ability to present this work in such a manner that would appeal to all classes of men. Because if he had done exactly as he had learned from his father, perhaps you and I could not have understood the Bhagavatam that he spoke. As we know, Vyasadeva is Mahavishnu, very scholarly. And the Vedas that he had to break it down into Sam, Yajur, and Atharva and Upanishads, too complicated. But it is the ability. So sometimes some people think that learning all the verses of the scripture is a great achievement. No, learning the essence of the verses is important. And especially if one is a preacher and one means well to all, then one should preach the essence of these verses. In Srimad Bhagavatam, scholarship has got nothing to do with scholarship. It is beyond scholarship. The subject matter is so presented through the lips of Sukadeva Goswami that any sincere listener, any sincere Shrota who hears submissively can at once relish the transcendental tastes which are distinct from the perverted states of the material world. We will soon learn how to distinguish between the perverted and the materially tinged literatures of the Vedas and the pure message of the Vedas. And this ripened fruit of the Vedas was not dropped all of a sudden from the highest planet of Krishnalok or Golok. It has come carefully through the chain of disciplic succession without change or disturbance. Just like in a very nice mango orchard, the farmers take very great care, especially if the mangoes are going to be harvested, or any fruit as a matter of fact. A good farmer will handpick them and carefully pass it on to the next person who is helping, and the next person and next person, and it is packed very nicely and carefully so that the end consumer will receive that fruit as it was in the farm. Please try to understand this analogy here. So the most important thing about hearing Bhagavatam is to be fortunate enough to hear it in that proper, careful, caring disciplic succession without any change or disturbance. One should be intelligent enough to know the position of the Srimad Bhagavatam by considering personalities like Sukadeva Goswami, who deals with the subject matter so carefully. And this process is known as parampara. This process of disciplic succession of the Bhagavad school or Bhagavad parampara suggests that in the future also, Srimad Bhagavatam has to be understood from a person who is factually a representative of Sukadeva Goswami. And Srila Prabhupada is the perfect representative of Sukadeva Goswami. We can see how meticulously 18,000 verses of the Srimad Bhagavatam, word to word translation, and then his Bhaktivedanta purports. Why did I name this group Bhaktivedanta Bhagavatam group? Please try to understand the meaning of the word Bhaktivedanta. Srila Prabhupada has an adjective, Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. The Vedanta has been studied by so many different schools and thoughts, including the Mayavads. But those who study the Vedanta, and the Vedanta's cream, or the Vedanta's actual commentary being Srimad Bhagavatam, from the perspective of bhakti, they are called Bhaktivedantists. That is the distinction between a Vedantist and a Bhaktivedantist. A professional man who makes a business out of reciting the Bhagavatam illegally is certainly not to represent Sukadeva Goswami. No. There are so many in India especially charging lakhs of rupees for Bhagavad Katha. And there are so many people of poor fund of knowledge who just for the sake of show or the sake of wealth or some kind of auspiciousness, some material auspiciousness they want to attain in their lives, that they want to keep Bhagavad Sapta by a big Bhagavad speaker who is charging big money. Neither the Bhagavad speaker will benefit nor the listeners. Not the true essence. Bhagavatam is Krishna. Please try to understand this. This is a very important concept in the foundation. Bhagavatam is Krishna. Krishna is a person. And a person reserves the right, an ordinary person like you and me reserve the right, who we can open the door to or close the door to. You think Krishna doesn't deserve the right? Who is the proprietor of everything? Isa Vasham Idam Sarvam. In the Isopanishad, that's the very first two words. Isa Vasam Idam Sarvam. Everything belongs to him. So does he not have the right to reveal himself or to hide, depending on the consciousness of the person? You and I have the right to hide our safe box where we keep our jewelry and our passport and money. Don't we have that right? Whom we can show it, whom we can give. We can show the keys to my wife, I can show it to my mother, I can show it to my son, my daughter, but I did not show it to some stranger. So the Srimad Bhagavatam or Krishna and Krishna's intimate pastimes of creation, his avatars, those secrets are also a secret that Krishna reveals the right to reveal. Otherwise, he's going to simply put a nice curtain and one can keep playing behind that curtain in the grammatical Sanskrit verses, which will not be revealed to them in the perfect perspective. Those professional Bhagavad speakers, their main business is only to earn a livelihood. My good friend, Dr. Nandpran Prabhu from Vrindavan, when I am in Vrindavan in Kartik, we had the opportunity to hear from very good, non-professional, pure Bhagavad Katha speaker in the line of Raghunath Bhatta Goswami. And after the Bhagavad Katha, sometimes he would stand on his way home and try to dispel some queries and make some statements. One thing he revealed the other day when I was there, I think Dr. Nandpran was also there, that even in Vrindavan, there are so many professional speakers. And sometimes when I see them, they invite me because he's also a very, very well-known personality in some functions or some festivals. So he meets these professional speakers who have a very, very big name. And sometimes he revealed this. They tell me, Are Bhatji, when you speak Katha, at least charge 50,000, 1 lakh, 2 lakh rupees. Why aren't you doing that? You are putting our business at risk by you not charging. See, this is the kind of people those professional speakers are. So see, they are not representatives of the Bhagavad school. The moment somebody even charges 1 penny, says that I will take so much to do this, it's a different story that when out of love, the speakers give the speaker something, showing some Guru Dakshina. And a true speaker or a true Guru will never keep that money. Perhaps just to keep the body and soul together in a very simple life they will live. The rest of it, they will use it back in Krishna's service. Even if they get crores. But there are some big names in India. If they have to come to the US, to Canada, they need 5-star hotel, 5-star house. One big speaker, he demanded the whole house be empty. Nobody should come in, only bring the tiffin, you wherever, even the house owner should leave and go stay somewhere else at their friend's house, and they should just supply the lunch and dinner. And then it is said, it was on YouTube recently, this is about 20 years ago or so in South Africa, he was caught with a woman in the middle of the night. What is the point? One can know all the shlokas by heart and be speaking on a big pulpit, but the moment they are offenders of Krishna, and anybody who offends somehow or the other, they will have to pay for their offenses. Their name, fame, pious activities, everything will be diminished or destroyed. Sometimes Krishna is very kind. He gives everybody a chance, but he is not a fool. Krishna's patience is great. He will give us a chance, like Shishupal. He kept on blaspheming 99 times. Krishna allowed that. Then he had to put a full stop to it. And that too, he will put a full stop for the well-being of that entity. So Srila Sukadeva Swami describes the Bhagavatam from its very beginning and not whimsically to satisfy the mundaner who has very little knowledge of the transcendental science. One time Srila Prabhupada went to the Birlas in Delhi, I think it was. He was invited. At that time, Prabhupada did not have any temples or anything. They were still under the process of building. So Prabhupada was invited by many big business people, industrialists. And the Birla family had invited Prabhupada. And obviously when a sadhu is invited, pious people want to hear from him. So then somebody in the Birla family requested, Swamiji, can you tell us something from the Pancharas Adhyay of this 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam? And Prabhupada courteously and humbly folded his hand. You may be qualified to hear, but I'm not qualified to speak. It actually meant the other way around. Most people who want to hear Srimad Bhagavatam, they want to immediately jump into the 10th canto. They want to jump into the core of the 10th canto, which is the Rasa Mahapanchadhyay. And then they will make a statement sitting on the Vyaspeed saying that when Krishna wound up his pastimes in Dwarka, the Dwarkavasis got drunk, Baldev Prabhu got drunk, Krishna's associates got drunk. They were in such a bad state that even their wives and the ladies in Dwarka were not safe. This is from a very big speaker of Ramayana, very famous in India. This was recently on the news. What kind of Ramayana, my dear Bapuji, you learnt? Ram is the incarnation of 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 Sri Krishna. And that Lord Ramachandra is going to be happy hearing that? That is why it is not advised. That is why it is said that Sukadeva Goswami described the Bhagavatam right from its very beginning, not whimsically to satisfy the mundaner. It's a shame that our leaders do not have understood the essence of Bhagavad because they never learned it. They have good oratorship, they have good memory, but they have no realization and they have no real guru to guide them. And somehow or the other, Bhagavatam says, Andha yatha andha upayamana. Prahlad Maharaj says in the 7th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam that the blind are leading the blind. And what happens in that condition? When a blind person is leading another blind man, that another blind man will, both of them are certainly to fall in a ditch. Srimad Bhagavatam is so carefully presented that a sincere person, a serious person, can at once enjoy the ripened fruit of Vedic knowledge simply by drinking the nectarian, drava, juice through the mouth of Sukadeva Goswami or his bona fide representative. That's why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Bhagavat suno, Bhagavat sthani. One should hear the scripture, Bhagavat, or any scripture. Bhagavat is what? The original and authentic commentary of Vedanta Sutra. Vedanta Sutra is what? The essence of all the Vedas. So Bhagavat is what? It is scripture. So Bhagavat suno. Hear the scriptures. Bhagavat sthane. From one who has realized Bhagavat. Or a representative who is speaking it as it is. And we are fortunate to speak every word that is emanating, I can humbly say, from my mouth, is all by the mercy of our Gaudiya Acharyas, Srila Prabhupada and his sincere followers. Nothing that I have spoken, not one word is manufactured. And we can all do that. Let us dive deep into this bhakti, practice it, and share it with all. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said that. Bharat bhumi te manusya janma hoilo ja. Jivan sharthak kari karo paropkar. Amar agya taro ei desh. Jare dakho tare kaho Krishna updesh. One who is born in Bharat Bhumi. Out of all these people in the world who are born outside, somehow some pious activity we have done that we were born in the holy land of Bharat. Bharat Bhumi te manusya, especially getting a human form of life, manusya janma hoilo ja. Jivan sharthak kori. Please make our life, please, Mahaprabhu is instructing. It is his order. Make your life successful. Karo paropkar. And then share it with others. Amar agya. It is my order. Taro ei desh. Jare dakho tare kaho Krishna updesh. It is my order that you all make your life successful. And every moment you get, please speak about Krishna consciousness. Krishna updesh. Jare dakho tare kaho Krishna updesh. So thank you very much. I will stop here now. I will continue with the introduction and glorification of Srimad Bhagavatam before actually starting the verses of Srimad Bhagavatam. I appreciate all the Vaishnavas, the devotees listening very patiently. And by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, Guruho, all the gurus, we can continue serving Srimad Bhagavatam. I'm very thankful to the devotees who have arranged this, and it is very inspirational to each other. We should inspire each other for such subject matters. If we really love a friend, really love a family member, then we should invite them to such eternal, sublime processes that will bring us eternal good. We can always give something to a friend in the form of money or gifts, material gifts. If they are in need, we can give them food, blanket, clothing, etc. But is it not a temporary solution? The highest gift we can give to all our well-wishers, to our people we love, is the gift of eternity. Satsang. Sat means eternal. Sat also means truth. Truth is eternal. And Srimad Bhagavatam is that satsang that only by the mercy of pure devotees, it is really manifest because he is Krishna. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai. Gaur Premanande. Hari Hari Bol. Gaur Premanande. Hari Hari Bol. So now I will request Anup Prabhu, if you have any announcements, and of course, anybody has any questions or any comments, or we will try our best to shed light by the mercy of Guru Gauranga. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Satchidananda Prabhuji. As you said, Bhagavatam Katha is the ripened fruit of the Kalpataru, and we need a couple of lives to actually understand this. But as long as you will be speaking, we will definitely be listening to you.
Speak a little louder, please, Prabhuji. We cannot hear you. Sorry. Come closer to your instrument.
Yes.
Thank you.
What I said, I will repeat again. Thank you very much. As you said, it's a most ripened fruit of the Kalpataru. And we need a couple of lives to understand the Bhagavatam Katha completely. But as long as you will speak, I think we will listen to you. And if we get a drop of this Bhagavatam Katha inside us, then we'll be very fortunate. I will open this forum to everybody if they have any questions, and we will continue this every Sunday. So I will request everybody to come join us and invite others to join this Katha. Thank you very much, and it's open to everybody for questions. They can unmute themselves and ask any questions. But I will have one questions, and I will ask you at the end.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Anup Prabhu.
Thank you.
I think Ramesh Dheer raised their hand. So you can unmute yourself and ask the question.
Yes. Ramesh Dheer Prabhu, where are you?
You have to press the unmute button.
Raj Rishi Prabhu, are you there? You have your hand raised in the reaction.
It was there from the beginning, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, we will wait for him. If anybody else has any comments or any questions, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Sujay Prabhu.
Hari Bol Prabhu.
Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Any questions or comments?
So I can ask my question then.
Okay, sure. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Speak a little bit closer, please.
Yeah. So this is about the Shankaracharya thing you said. Like he's mainly Mayabad, but at the end you said he said like Hari Bol or something.
Bhaja Govinda.
Bhaj Govinda. So can you elaborate a little more on this, like how he was Mayabad and why he said Bhaj Govinda, and what is the link, and a little bit more on that?
Yeah, so Shankaracharya Pad, actually, just to give a little bit of history, he actually came right after the Krishna avatar of Buddha. Keshavadhrita Buddha Sharira Jaya Jagadisha Hare. So before Lord Buddha, he based on the, I was going to actually touch on it on next time, but still because you asked, I will explain a little bit, and then maybe I can elaborate in the next session or two. He is basically saying that when the Vedas have certain provisions, especially in the Tamoguni Vedas, that one can eat meat, and in the Tamoguni sections of the Vedas or some Puranas, there are provisions in the Vedas to eat meat, but there is no cow killing or cow meat eating in it. And due to that, there are certain restrictions. That restriction is as such as that you can kill a goat or a cow on only Amavas nights, and then you have to say mantras in the ears of that animal and tell the animal that they are going to sacrifice, that now I'm killing you in this life, you have the right to kill me in the next life. So like that, when they follow all the rules of the Vedas and then they do the sacrifice, they will get some kind of a enlightenment or a better understanding that why am I killing this? In the next life, this animal will also kill me. So to a certain extent, they were following these rules, but then the rules of the Vedas were not followed, and they just said, oh, in the Vedas said that we can kill animals, we can eat meat. So that meat eating became so rampant and it became so prominent that Krishna had to do something. And people were taking the excuse of the Vedas. So Krishna appeared as Lord Buddha. And Lord Buddha changed the entire philosophy. Lord Buddha, what he did is he said that ahimsa paro dharmo. There is no other spiritual activity or parodharma than non-violence. And if the Vedas are saying anywhere about killing animal and eating, etc., then we should reject the Vedas. Now this is Krishna himself saying to reject the Vedas in the form of Lord Buddha. So, and then he also tricked everybody in saying that there is no karmic reaction, there is no soul. At the end, when the body dies, everything dies. That is called shunyavad. Everything becomes zero. And that is nirvana. That's what they describe, the Buddhist or the Buddhism philosophy. So then the entire Bharatvarsh became followers of Lord Buddha, and especially the great King Ashoka, who had become a very big emperor. And you all must know from history that he was an ardent follower of Lord Buddha. He was a Buddhist. And under his kingdom, a lot of Buddhist stupas and a lot of Buddhist monasteries were established. And Buddhism spread left and right. And the Vedas were not recognized. But when the ahimsa principle was established, now Krishna had to unwind what he did. So he sent his own pure devotee, Lord Shiva, Mahadev, as Shankaracharya Pad. And he is the one, in order to re-establish the Vedas, he started propagating the Vedas in such a way, in very simple ways, because suddenly from no soul, no Paramatma, no form, if we were to suddenly preach the personalism or the form, then it would become very difficult for the people to understand. So he had to inject certain doses of the Vedas back into the system and establish that the Vedas are authentic. So that is the reason Shankaracharya Pad revealed the Vedas just enough so that the Vedas would be re-established. And he established it in such a way that everything is Brahman, which is true. Everything is Brahman, but that was mistaken as everything is a light or an energy. And that what became the goal of his followers. And there is no form, everything is nirgun. But again, the word nirgun, of course, Lord Shiva knows that it is bereft of any material guna or material qualities of tamos gun, rajogun and satogun. That is the actual meaning of nirgun, which Shankaracharya Pad knew. But somehow or the other, for preaching purposes, he let it be for some time. But when it was the time for his death, when he had to wind up his pastimes, and when he had to leave his body, then he had to tell the essence of that to all his disciples, that look, in this stotram that he has, it's a very nice stotra, which is called he tells, "O fool, give up the thirst to amass wealth." He says, "Mood jahihi dhanagna trishnam kurusat buddhim manasi vitrishnam yalla base nija karoma pattam vetatim tena vinodaya chittam." O fool, he's telling his disciples, give up the thirst to amass wealth. Because through Vedas, the study of the Vedas, they started amassing a lot of wealth because of their scholarship. Devote your mind to the dispassion and thoughts of the real. And the real here means Sri Krishna, Govinda. Be content with what comes to you through actions performed by your own work. Here he is introducing Karma Yoga. Because suddenly Bhakti Yoga is a very high concept, which these Mayavadis would not be able to understand. As a matter of fact, the Mayavadis, even today, they say that Bhakti Yoga is the most simple kindergarten. They say it the other way around. So in the beginning, Bhakti Yoga is good, but later on you have to give that up. But here, Shankaracharya Pad's Stuti, it says otherwise. So like that, he's saying that do not get drowned in delusion. He says, Nari stan bhara nabhi desham drishtva magna mohan vesham etan mamsha vasadi vikaram manasi vichintya varam varam. Do not get drowned in the delusion, in this illusion, infatuated with the modes of passion and lusty desires by seeing a woman's raised chest and navel. These are nothing but the modification of flesh and fat. And like that, do not fail to remember again and again in your mind Govinda. Like this, he is saying that even if you study the Vedas, those lusty desires are not going to disappear, because that is on the platform of Pratishtha. And Pratishtha can only disappear with pure bhakti once we take to that. So Shankaracharya Pad gave the final lesson, but very few of them caught it. And even today, their followers are still playing around with that fact, because you know what, it is very difficult. If I make a statement when I'm sitting on the Vyas Asan, and I say that, you know what, all of you here, listen to me. You are all eternal servants, whether now in the material world or when you get liberated and you go to the spiritual world, you will always remain servants. If I make that statement, a lot of people will not buy that very easily. But if I make this statement, Arey, my dear brothers and sisters, oh, my dear devotees, you don't know, Baba, you're Bhagavan, you are all one with God. We are all same. And when our life is finished, when this body is finished, we will all merge into Brahman. Now, this Brahman is a very complicated word in Sanskrit. Brahman means spiritual. Brahman means the spiritual sky. Brahman also means the Brahma Jyoti. It is a layer of bright light. It is an area between the material world and the spiritual world. This area is known as Brahma Jyoti. It is like sometimes when we are going in the mountain, we see a big, huge patch of cloud that is descended on the road that you cannot even see. If you have traveled out sometimes at higher heights, that clouds, they are actually floating right in front of your eyes at your level where you are standing or driving, right? So when we go into it and we cannot see anything around us, we think that we have entered that light or that space, which is bereft of any kind of tamogun, rajogun, and satogun, which is true, because that light, if you can see this picture here, I don't know how many of you can follow my arrow around. Just on the periphery of the lotus, there is a white light here. I'm just going around in circles. And of course, this effulgence is due to the purity of the dham, of the spiritual world or the worlds. So that whole belt of white light is the spiritual world and the entities that are so pure are emanating that aura. And that aura or that belt, one cannot see beyond it. And if one says that I have achieved, for example, if you again follow my cursor, I don't know, left or right, which one is what, but okay, wherever this hand is, it is on my right side. So maybe when you're seeing me, it is on the left. Just follow the end of this hand here, right here. If somebody by any chance comes into this region, and if the light is so strong, they cannot actually see the actual Golok Dham. They cannot actually see the land, the trees, the devotees, Lord Krishna, Radharani, etc. They and the different real objects because of the blinding of the light. Just like when we are driving in a very, very dark area at night and somebody puts a high beam, then we cannot even see the cars. And sometimes we have to kind of, shake our high beam thing so that please, put your dipper. Don't put that high beam. I cannot see anything. So similarly, the Mayavads and the Brahmavads enter that light zone due to their austerity. But because of their offenses, they are not able to see, they're not able to come and penetrate the zone of Brahma Jyoti and enter into the real Dham or enter into the real spiritual sky. So the point being that Shankaracharya Pad warned them that Govinda, Bhaja Govinda, he specifies, he doesn't say Bhaja Brahma, because he knows that Param Brahma is Govinda. Everything emanates from Govinda. Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Ishvara Parama Krishna. He is Param Ishvara, Sarva Karana Karanam. He is the cause of all the causes. So, if one fails to understand that, then their understanding is half. If their understanding is incomplete. And sometimes what they do is, supposing if they have reached this region of this, if they have reached the region of the white light, follow my cursor again. And if they think that, this is the most highest point in the spiritual world, and if we advertise that because of our incomplete experience, then our followers will also think the same. So that Nirgun Brahman, that Jyoti, Brahma Jyoti, is that it is a real area, but it is not the full and complete realization. Just like the sun rays is partial realization, but if one wears some nice dark goggles, one can see that the sun is a sun globe. It is round, it is spherical. And if one uses some more better astronomical instruments, they can see that the sun is not only round, but there are flares and flares of gases that are creating that amazing temperature of heat and light, that different inflammable gases are burning. And then those who have understood even further the Vedas, they describe that one who is capable of getting a special body, they can actually enter the sun globe. Like people are entering this Earth planet, or some of them are going to all these different space journeys, going out to certain objects that are floating in space, and they have to wear those special suits to protect their body and to protect from the onslaught of the environment of either weightlessness and other things, or there's a lack of oxygen. So then they have to carry oxygen tanks on their back, etc. So they have to create an artificial environment. But in Krishna's, Prabhupada has mentioned in his books that all these planets are inhabited by different living entities. Just because we do not see that, it does not matter that it doesn't mean that they do not exist. They have been given special bodies by Krishna to weigh that environment, so that even if we know there are certain germs even here on this, that they do not easily die even in hot water or even in the fire, because they have a certain body that they have been given by Mother Nature. It will require very extreme high temperatures to kill them. If we read that in the science journals, we will find them. So similarly, those bodies are there for those Atmas who want to go to the sun globe, and if they qualify, they can get those special bodies that will not actually burn them, They can, right now, even if the sun moves 1 degree closer to the earth, this earth will be devastated because of the high temperatures. But so can you imagine those personalities who are living in the sun? We have information that Krishna spoke the Bhagavad Gita to the sun god, the king. His name is Vivaswan. So this is not some fairy tale. And there are living entities in the sun globe, in the Chandra. Chandra is very cold. There are sub-zero temperatures. But there are bodies who can live. Let me tell you something. For example, from my practical experience, I'm going to share something with devotees. I love to go scuba diving. Whenever I get an opportunity, I am a certified scuba diver. And it gives me a certain kind of a peace or a solace when I go underwater. And it kind of reminds me of how beautiful Krishna's creation is. And please try to understand this personal example that I am, because this is a practical experience that I'm talking about. So the deeper you go in the water, you have to adapt to the water, and you have to have all these gear on the back, the BCD, the buoyancy control device, you have the air tank, and then you also have to do some equalization. As you go deeper, there's more pressure coming on the head, in the ears, and you have to equalize using techniques. And if you don't do that, then your lungs will burst, your ears will burst, and you can die. So these are the techniques that they teach you when you go diving. But when I'm down there at 100 feet or so, and after all my equalization and everything, and the buoyancy has been attained, and when I'm seeing all those fishes and all those beautiful, from the 8,400,000 species of life, it is mentioned in the Puran that Jalaja Navalakshani, there is 9 million varieties of aquatic life, 9 million varieties. So in that 9 million varieties, sometimes we see when my dive master who is guiding, he will take us to some of the caves underwater, and he will point out, and there's a little, very little creature, very beautiful, purple in color, and it has got like whiskers like lobsters, but it is so tender. And I'm just wondering at that time, and later on I'm reflecting, a person like me or human beings, we have to use all this artificial equipment to go underwater and do equalization, because the more you sink underwater, all the water that is above you has got a lot of weight. The weight keeps increasing. The weight of the water keeps increasing the more you go deeper, because there is more weight on you, on the body. The pressure all over the body keeps increasing. And what about these little creatures? Some of these little creatures are on the bed of the ocean, that are thousands of feet deep, that even man cannot go. They only send some special aquatic submarines to do the oceanography, or the ocean study of the oceans, etc. So they find that life, even at this depth, 4,000 feet, 5,000 feet, there is life there. How is it surviving? So that from that it shows what Prabhupada had said years ago that I'd read. I practically experienced it when I went underwater diving, that how they are able to survive in such heavy pressure of water. And even when we are coming up, the main instruction is you cannot come up suddenly. You have to come up very slowly. Otherwise, as you are coming up, the pressure is decreasing and your lungs are like a balloon. And if you come up fast, your lungs can burst and you can die. And as you're going down, your lungs are compressing. Just like you try that in your bathtub or in a deep water, you have a blown balloon, and as you're putting it in the water, the deeper it goes, it will compress. And then you release it in the bottom, like if you're in the bottom of a swimming pool, and you release that balloon, it will expand, and it will even go beyond its volume and it will burst. So this is the principle of physics or whatever, but this is the laws of nature, and physics is a small component of it. So similarly, all these bodies are capable of living in different parts of the creation. Even to go to the spiritual world, whether Golok or Vaikuntha, we get special bodies. In our ordinary body, we cannot, because this body is material, and anything material cannot enter that region. So the Mayavadis cannot enter the true region of the guna, or the sakar realm, where there is devotees, there is trees, there is cows, there is grass, there is Krishna, and there is different forms of Krishna. It is a curtain. Krishna reserved the right because they do not want to become das anudas. They like that idea. Oh, Baba, you are God. So God means enjoyer. He is bhokta. So everybody likes. So if you go to any of these Mayavadi temples, they originally do some pancha upasana. Hanumanji, Surya Dev, Shivji, they do the upasana of Narayan. Like that, this is the pancha upasana that they do, and then they say we have to graduate beyond that because all this is ultimately illusion. You will see. So all these five pancha upasana that they teach you, they say these Mayavadis, it is very basic. And those sadhus or sannyasis who are beyond that, they will not do pancha upasana. They will think that they have become God. They are one with God. So that is what they are saying. So that sounds very nice. Oh, you and I, Are Anup Baba, you don't know, you are God, I am also God. Then why I should serve you, why you should serve me? So that dasatva doesn't happen. And where there is no dasatva, Jiver Swarup, why Nitya Krishna Das? That is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's, Krishna's own proclamation. So we are trying to find different versions and meanings of Shastra and breaking it down and interpreting and making interpretations. When Krishna has declared that Jiv Swarup is Nitya Krishna Das, then what is there to interpret further in that? Whether here or in the Brahma Jyoti or actually in the Vaikuntha Dhams, we are Nitya Krishna Das, or his incarnations, his Swarupas. We are his eternal servants. So that most people don't like. Why should I be servant? And that is the main reason why we are here in the material world, because we want to imitate, we want to become bhokta instead of serving the bhokta. And through the service of bhokta Krishna, we automatically, as a secondary byproduct, we derive automatic bliss, which they don't understand, which is far beyond the understanding of these Mayavadis. So then in the 10th canto, in the 11th canto, Brahmaji mentions in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Aruva Krichena Vimukta Manena Patanti Adha. These Mayavadis and Brahmavadis, when they are in that Brahma Jyoti, they Vimukta Manena, they think that they are liberated. But Patanti Adha, they fall down from the realm and they come back to this material planet Earth. And Prabhupada mentions in his purports, then they go into many philanthropic works of material nature, of building schools, colleges, hospitals, etc., thinking that to be the highest. But stopping, the Vaishnavas say, stopping somebody from going to the hospital, from getting disease, from getting hunger, stopping the pangs of birth, old age, and disease and death is the highest service to mankind. And which Srimad Bhagavatam and sublime scriptures preach, which they do not accept. And that is why they are Mayavadi Krishna Pradi. Mayavadi Bhascha Shunile Hoy Sarvanash. Anybody who listens to Mayavad, they will be completely destroyed, even if it is scripture. And the description is like the scriptures are like, or the Vedas are like pure milk. They're pure. But if a snake comes and touches pure milk, even if it touches just a little bit, then one cannot consume it. It has to be rejected. That milk has to be thrown away. So we have to be very careful. That is why in this foundation or the introduction of Bhagavatam, I mentioned today, it is from who we are hearing scripture is very, very important. Otherwise, we will be completely misguided. Our entire existence will be destroyed in the sense that we will be committing spiritual suicide. And perhaps we may have to wait. God knows, Krishna knows, how many millenniums after millenniums before Mahaprabhu or some great personality that Mahaprabhu sends or Krishna sends, who have the capability to even convert Mayavadis to Vaishnavas, convert the Mayavadi concept and understanding of the Shastra into the proper. Like in Jagannath Puri, Sarvavadacharya, who was the main Brahmin of King Prataprudra, he was a Mayavad, he was a Brahmavad. He had no proper understanding of the Shastras, but when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came into Puri and he was dancing in front of Lord Jagannath, and he swooned, he fainted. And then when he saw Sarvavadacharya that this is from my sampradaya, he's taken sannyas in the Bharati sampradaya. Take him to my home. And every morning, Sarvabhaumacharya used to go take darshan of Lord Jagannath. And even then, Lord Jagannath did not reveal his true form to him of Raj or anything like that. Such a scholar of the Vedas. So the Vedas, studying the Vedas has no bearing in understanding pure bhakti. Every day he used to go with a lot of disciples. And then when he saw Mahaprabhu fainting there, chanting, dancing, and then fainting, he said, pick him up and bring him to my house. He seems to be a very young boy. He has not learned Vedanta. He should hear from me. And then he sat when Mahaprabhu, he sprinkled water and woke him up. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Are Baba, you are from my sampradaya. It doesn't suit you to dance and chant like this. Have you learned Vedanta? Come sit, Baba. Sit with me and I will teach you. The great Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, as the name indicates, Sarvabhauma, the entire world's Bhattacharya, the Brahman. And like that, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, giving him the respect of a grandfatherly figure, he said, yes, I will listen to Vedanta from you. And Mahaprabhu listens to Vedanta from him 7 days without speaking a single word. Patiently listening to all the explanations he's giving of the Vedas, the conclusion of the Vedanta Sutra. And then Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya says, Are Baba, I've been speaking 7 days, but not a single word you have spoken. Have you understood what I have understood? How will I understand that you have understood? Say something. So then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he was ordered to say something, he said, no, what you said is okay. He said, just okay? I am Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. Look at how many you are fortunate that you are studying directly under me. Otherwise, there are so many people studying under my students. Yes, but Bhattacharya Pad, you said such and such a thing in one composition. And that is, I beg to differ on it. Oh, so you know better than me. Explain. Explain. Come on, explain. And then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu starts explaining one particular word only, Atmaram, which Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya had explained based on his Vedantic knowledge. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explained the meaning of Atmaram. And then he was flabbergasted. Huh? All his scholarship, all his name. And then Mahaprabhu did one special kripa on Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. He showed his real form as Krishna, as incarnation of Lord Ramachandra, and the present sannyas form. There's the Chadabhuj, 6 arms. Ramchandra Bhagavan having one with bow and one with arrow. The sannyasi having one danda and one kamandal, or the begging pot. And Sri Krishna with the Sudarshan Chakra and his lotus, Padma. Like that. He showed the 6 arms. And Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya accepted. Oh, how fortunate I am. And then he became a pure Vaishnava, and then he composed everything they did learn from the Vedanta. He saw that from a different lens. He picked up the lens of pure bhakti. And the same verses that he understood based on the Vedanta, that Sanskrit, once he wore the lens given by Mahaprabhu, he understood. Oh, this is the meaning of this word. This is the meaning of this word. This is the meaning of this word. Although grammatically he was correct even in his prior interpretations. So that is the point, that once we take to Mayavadism and those concepts, we are playing very bad, what do you call, spiritual suicide game. And then we don't know how long it will take for us to come back to the proper understanding. Because this thoughts and knowledge will go with us when we die in our subtle body. It is just not limited to this body. So that is why Mayavadi Bhashya Sunila Hoy Sarvanash. If we see a Mayavadi sannyasi, or if somebody is speaking about Nirgud Brahman, etc., Durata Dandvata Bhelo, Bhakati Vinoda Bhakata Charana Korisar. He says, I respect everyone because Paramatma is even in their hearts. And they have even taken sannyas order. So at least they have some vairagya better than this materialist. So I offer my dandvats to them. Dandvats are Durata Bhelo, but from far. But I'm not going to accept their philosophy. Bhakata Charan, Vaishnava Charan Korisar. I will accept the essence of what the Vaishnavas are giving. So I hope I was able to address Anup Prabhu.
Yes, yes, yes. You went much deeper into the thing. I understood everything now. So basically, Shankaracharya never spreaded anything like Mayabad. Some of his followers spread his concept, twisted concept, what is called Mayabad.
Yes.
Yeah.
Correct. Shankaracharya, how he can do that? Impossible for him to do that.
Yeah.
Krishna himself rejected the Vedas, so he saw that I have to do something to re-establish them. So he gives the honors to Lord Shiva. He could have done that too. So many things Krishna can do. But Mahaprabhu could have done all this, but he left it for Rupa Goswami. He left it for Sanatana Goswami. He left it for A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Prithvicha Adi Nagar Adigram Sarvatra Hoibe Mor Nam Prachar. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had already predicted that 532 years ago. That in every town and village my name will be spread. And he gave the honors to A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada to spread the name of Krishna, Hare Krishna, all over the world. So he gave that honors to Lord Shiva. And how could Lord Shiva not understand that Lord Shiva is dancing with joy in Vrindavan, in all the parts of Braj, and he is constantly there to see his pastimes, and the pastimes can only be seen of a person. You cannot see the pastimes of something that is not visible, something that cannot be seen. What pastime you and I can describe? The best we can describe is supposing if I'm in front of you and if I disappear. If I disappear, I have covered the camera and I'm disappeared now. So what is the best you can describe? He disappeared.
Nothing.
No more. But supposing if I'm back again, you can say, oh, he's worn the heavy duty glass, black color glass rim, and he has tilak and he has white kurta. You can start describing. And today he was speaking Srimad Bhagavatam, giving introduction, etc., etc., etc. So that interaction can only happen in personalism. There is no interaction when there is impersonalism. There is no seva when there is impersonalism. And if there is no seva, there is no anand. Because seva and ananda are the actual dharma of the soul, or the inherent quality that is never subject to change. Whether today I am a Muslim or a Hindu or a Christian, even knowingly or unknowingly, the soul within is trying to find happiness through service. I will serve my family nicely, even if I'm a Muslim, or I will serve my community nicely if I'm a Muslim. And through that, I'm going to try and derive some happiness that I did something. Although it may be pure, impure, and temporary, because the nature of the soul is such, service and ananda, seva and ananda. So if the seva is directed to a permanent person, not an impersonality, then the anand is also permanent.
Yeah.
That is the concept of Vaishnavism, and that is the true concept. Would I, if I tell you, my dear friends, I have the power right now, just please take it in the right spirit, to transport each one of you to a very nice area, full of light, which is very nice, and it is full of quiet, and you can sit there for eternity. Do nothing, just enjoy the peace. And if I tell you, my dear Prabhus and friends, let us all go, and we are fortunate enough, Krishna is allowing us in a very nice picnic, and we will be surrounded by Krishna and Balram and all the cowherd boys and all the wonderful sweets and all the different the luncheon items that all the devotees have made, and the different beautiful area of the spiritual world. And we can, personally serve Krishna with our own hands, some laddus or some rasmalai or some roshogolla and things like that. Which one sounds more attractive? There is activity, and Krishna will be very happy to meet us. He will hug us. Like he waited for Gopkumar in the Brihad Bhagavatamrit. And Gopkumar went through all the different parts of this material world, and then he went to the heavenly planets, and he was not completely satisfied. And then he went to the Viraja where Mahavishnu is. There also he took darshan and he was not satisfied. And then he went into the different parts of Vaikuntha until he reached Golok. And when he reached Golok, Krishna was waiting with him with open arms. Where have you been, my friend? I've been waiting. And they both hug each other and they're crying. So last time I also mentioned, or sometime had mentioned, what is our requirement? If our requirement is some solitary place where we can just sit there and enjoy the light, then the Nigama Kalpataro Galitam, the Nigama Kalpataro, the Vedic tree will give us that, which the Vedic tree, because the Mayavadis asked for that. So the Vedas gave them that. But if somebody went further and said, Arey Baba, I don't want 5 rupees, give me 50 lakhs. So the Vedas can give that. Giving a material example just so that we can understand the point. So Vedas are capable of giving the highest and the purest. But it has to be revealed. Otherwise, we will never understand it. We will be completely lost. That is what Srimad Bhagavatam is. We haven't even started. Moment we start, we will see how deep it is. We will relish it. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Haribol, Mukund
How are
Prabhu.
you? Better we have to keep the Mayavadi separate. We want to discuss about it, Kirtan, because mind going upset. Because they're always against the Vaishnava.
Yes. Yes.
Actually, I have one small...
That Mayavadi Bhasha Sudila Hoy Sarvanash.
Sarvanash, you're right. I have, Prabhu, one question.
Yes.
Suk Parrot ran away from Shankara and he went to Vyas Rishi's wife's mouth.
Yes.
Shankar came to that home and returned, but Shankar also Tridev, so he know. So maybe it is a one type the God creation, because the
of course.
God wanted to create the Bhagavatam and the people knows later. Am I right?
Very good understanding.
Yes, thank you very much.
Otherwise, why will Shankar chase a parrot?
Yeah,
and then stop there. If he wants, he could have killed Vyasdev's wife.
Yeah, within 1 second he can run away up to his place to their Rishi's wife before he can kill any time, because he's
correct understanding. Mukund Prabhu, I'm very, very happy to hear that.
Yeah, because I don't like the Mayavadis. Just listen, they are all. I cannot use the bad words for them, but I don't want to listen to Mayavadi any words, because they fed up to this our stories, the Vaishnava and everything. Because we listen to good Bhagavad Katha, and I like, because I missed the Gujarati 2-3 parts. First off, that's why I'm sitting the whole day. Yesterday I went to temple. Today I never go because I want to enjoy this Katha today. Haribol, Prabhu. Hello, maybe.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
We are all very fortunate to share with others, because our goal is not to make any money, or we are trying to build something and you come and give us $1,000 or give us this. No. We are not interested. Arre Baba, we are already interested in Bhagavatam, nothing else. You can give me the entire world, millions of dollars. I'm not going to give that up. Give Srimad Bhagavatam, the message of Srimad Bhagavat, for petty things.
Absolutely.
I may be very small. Maybe I don't know all the 18,000 verses of Srimad Bhagavatam. Maybe I cannot sing all that with a big orchestra. Maybe I don't have like 2 lakh people sitting in my pandal. But I'm fortunate. Dandavata Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada for giving me this. Even if you are one person sitting here, I'm very fortunate that I'm able to share this pure message.
Yeah, absolutely right. Words to words. Absolutely right there. I'm happy.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
So I see a few other devotees here. Ramesh Dhir Prabhu, Raj Rishi Prabhu, you had raised your hand earlier. Are you there still? You can unmute your mic and you can ask something if you want to, or say something. Hare Krishna. Okay. Anybody else?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Hello.
Hare Krishna.
Um, this is regarding the Varna Sankara. I mean, the Mayavad, and it's a big topic. So now I'm like switching the topic. What you said, regarding the Varna Sankara. So just trying to understand in the present concept. Like I remember in chapter 1, Krishna said there are few verses relating to Varna Sankara. So say especially the Adharmo Bhibhavat Krishna Pradusyanti Kulastriyah
Kulastriya.
Suvashneya Jayate Varna Sankara Sankaro, then Sankaro Narkaiva Kulagnana Kulascha Patanti Pitru Vesha Lupta Pindu. But
Very nice.
my question is, in the present concept, so Varna Sankara, when we talk about Varna Sankara, is it the present, the system of caste like Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Sudra, because the concept was, when Arjuna was asking when because of the consequence of war, thousands of men will be gone, and then the remaining women, they might be impure and giving birth to Varna Sankaras. So what is that like during the present concept, like present Sanatan's cultural thing, like Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, is it the same thing we need to understand, or it has a different implication?
Varna Shankar means basically the four Varnas are there. The four Varnas, which is the Shudra, the Vaishya, Kshatriya, and Brahman, correct? So what happens is, due to the weakness that is created in the society due to widows, previously what used to happen is, there is a reason that Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Chaturvarnyam Maya Srishtam Guna Karma Vibhagasha. These four Varnas and four ashrams were meant for the uplift of mankind, and it is my system. So generally speaking, somebody of a different Varna would not marry another Varna. They would not. It would be improper because the modes of material nature were different. Supposing a Brahman decided to marry a Shudra, then there would be no harmony because of the thinking and because of the activities that were built. Just like supposing there will be no compatibility. Even in common terms, let's say, for example, if a boy and a girl, they just get married because they are told to get married, it's possible that it will break into a divorce. It will turn into divorce because there is no compatibility or no chemistry. So similarly, these four Varnas and four ashrams have their own particular chemistry. And if somebody marries outside of that, now this will sound like a caste system, but it is not. See, that's the first thing that I want people to get out of their heads. It is a matter of compatibility. So if I say, and I will give a parallel example, that way this will become very clear. If I say that I am a doctor and I want to marry a doctor, then there is compatibility. Both the husband and wife understand what it takes to be a doctor. So supposing if his wife is a doctor and himself he is of some other profession who is not in the medical field, as an example, try to understand the example. And this doctor is coming home at 1 a.m. in the morning, and by that time the husband is already asleep. His half night is gone, and then like that there is no compatibility on the time and things like that. So then sometimes things can turn into words, and words can turn into fights, and then it will turn into a complete non-compatible situation. You understand what I'm saying? Profession. Yes, so a doctor, if he marries a doctor, just a general example, then they will understand each other. So even if the wife is coming at 1 a.m. in the morning, or the husband is coming at 1 a.m., he had an emergency operation and he had these extra rounds to do, and etc. So that is understandable. That is something that will be looked more upon in a positive light than in a negative light. So two doctors marrying each other is a great thing, as an example, or two lawyers marrying each other. Similarly, those of the same thinking or the same profession, so those are Varnas, in other words. if they are married to each other, then their progress in spiritual life will be very quick and fast because of their compatibility, and they will spend their energy in making Krishna consciousness their center. So the Shudra's job is to serve the other communities very nicely. And if a Shudra dies by doing so, by serving the Vaishnavas nicely, the Kshatriyas and the Brahmanas nicely, they have attained their perfection. It is not that the Shudra and Brahman, the Shudra will get a destination of hellish condition. No, if he is in the proper Varnashram system, that Shudra was done his duty perfectly and offering the results to Krishna to please Krishna. And Krishna has defined that, okay, in the social order of life, these are the rules. And the Vaishya should be serving the Brahman and the sannyasis and the people who are in the renounced order very nicely, taking care of their needs. If a Vaishnava or a Brahmana or a brahmachari comes to your door, then it is the duty of the Vaishyas to feed them, to give them the dakshina, etc. So if the Vaishya does his job perfectly, then his result is also perfect, which is pleasing Krishna. So the first thing when we talk about this Shudra, Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, a caste system comes in the mind and it goes haywire. So first thing we are, so just think about the compatibility, lawyer, doctor. So meeting of the minds. So Varna Shankar basically would mean that Varna, these Varnas, they would get mixed up because of lust. Supposing if a nice Kshatriya person, soldier's wife is so beautiful and she becomes a widow, and some Brahman gets attracted to her or some Shudra gets attracted to her, she's now not protected. And due to that interaction with her, they can produce a child that is a Kshatriya and a Shudra, or a Brahman and a Shudra. That is Shankar, Varna Shankara. You get the point? So then that child will not be properly trained in the concept of spirituality that Krishna has delineated as per the specific dharmas of every ashram and every varna. And that's where the things will go haywire. So I hope I have addressed your question, or if there's any further comment or question, I would like to hear from you, Prabhuji.
No, Prabhu, it was excellent. Thank you, Hare Krishna. Thank you very
Hare
much.
Krishna. Yes. But now, one more thing to add to that. In today's world, I remember you mentioned, in today's world, it is all Varna Shankar. But the biggest advantage, although we are so fallen and we have so much Varna Shankar going on and all these things, we are very fortunate because it is a golden Kalyug and the mercy of Mahaprabhu is there and this Hare Krishna Mahamantra is present. And when we hear the instructions of Mahaprabhu or his sincere followers, and we follow in the footsteps, it doesn't matter what Varna we are from, we attain the highest. Kalo dosha nidhe rajan, eko asti mahan guna, kirtanadi krishnasya mukta sangha param vrajit. It's a shloka from the Srimad Bhagavatam. Hopefully we will come to it someday. So Sukadeva Swami is telling Parishad, Kalo dosha nidhe rajan. This Kalyuga is full of dosh. It is full of faults. So Varna Shankar is not a big deal. Even within us, previously at least, we used to remember that, the parents would expect that the child would marry in the same community, etc. But now, it doesn't matter. Just get married. The parents are so worried, my child will remain unmarried or this, that. Oh, the day they bring somebody that they want to get married to, they are happy. But somebody who takes to Krishna consciousness, Kalo dosha nidhe rajan, it is an ocean of faults, Kalyug. Eko asti mahan gun, but there is one great quality. What is that? Kirtan adi Krishnasya. The singing of the glories of Krishna, doing Sankirtan. Adi means listening to books like Srimad Bhagavatam, serving Srimad Bhagavatam, serving Bhagavats. Mukta Sangha Param Vrajit. The result is one will get the mukti. Mukti means detachment from Sangha. Sangha means material detachment. Otherwise, somebody will translate mukti like the Mayavadi's mukti. Mukta Sangha. Mukti from all material attachments, including mukti itself. Sangha Param Vrajit, and one will get the Param, the topmost destination, Vrajit. And Vrajit also means, our Acharya says, one will get Golok Vrindavan. The Gaudiya Vaishnava Acharyas have explained that. So although you're right that what about in today's practical world? But here the answer is given, that we can attain the topmost destination, not to worry, by Mahaprabhu's mercy, by the mercy of Prabhupada, by the mercy of those Vaishnavas. If we simply follow in their footsteps by taking to Sankirtan and by simply hearing Hari Kathas, serving Bhagavatam. Right?
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna. I'm very happy to see you. I've not met you before, but it was good meeting you, Prabhu.
Thank
Good
you, Prabhu.
And you have a good, I was happy to hear the shlokas of chapter 1 from you.
Thank you, Prabhu. I have like small interest in it, so that's the reason.
Hare Krishna. Very well.
Hare.
The important is here is understanding the true message of those verses, even if you don't remember them.
Yeah.
But it's nice to remember the verses. I'm getting old. I used to know a lot of verses. I'm also forgetting, but at least the essence by the mercy of Prabhupada is not forgotten. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Thank
Hare
you so
Krishna.
much. Hare well. So I hope to see you again.
Sure, Prabhu.
Hare well. Anybody else? I'm very happy. My time, I can sit here till 2 a.m. in the morning as long as everybody is ready to. This is my life and this is my soul. And I'm very happy to be amongst all these sincere devotees. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Prabhu, you want to say something, Prabhuji?
Yeah, we are so fortunate to have you. I don't have words. You're so great, so
Hare Baba.
so kind enough.
Prabhupada is great. And the Vaishnava Acharyas are great. I'm just a simply small, nimitta.
Yeah, you're so kind enough to, like you said, you're ready to sit till next morning. So how many of brothers are like that? We are really very fortunate. We are really very grateful to you. It's very enlightening. Your knowledge is superb.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We are really very fortunate. We should be very grateful.
All glories to Guru Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. So
hope it will continue, and we are really, whenever I miss you, really I cannot forgive myself. Sometimes when I'm bound to do something, only that time I miss. Otherwise, I don't wish to miss anything of your lecture.
Hare Krishna.
So,
all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Bol. I
Hare-
see one
Hare
Mr.
Krishna.
Harish Prabhu from Chicago. Have we met before? Can you unmute yourself and introduce yourself? Harish Bhai?
Yeah, Harish Bhai is there, I think.
And who is Krish? I have somebody by the name Krish also.
Yeah. Hi, this is Pankit here. I joined as a Krish.
Oh, Pankit, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yes.
Jai Shri Govind.
Yes. I'm happy to have you here.
Yeah, same here. Well, thank you very much for nice pravachan. Thank you.
Haribol. You were there from the beginning?
Yeah, I joined at 4:30. Yeah, from the beginning.
Okay. Good to have you.
Yeah,
Do you have
so-
any questions or any comments?
No.
Try to make
I'm
it
good.
interactive at the end, so that everybody can give some valuable input or in the form of questions, so that it can benefit all.
Sure.
Srimad Bhagavatam
Yeah.
is full of questions and answers. In the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam, that is why they are praising that, oh, you are actually asking these wonderful questions that will not only benefit you, but it will benefit everybody. So that's the essence, or that's the proper system. Haribol.
Yeah, Haribol.
Okay. So be safe, everybody, and depend on Krishna. Ultimately, he is our protector, and he's indeed our ashray. He is the Vishaya Vigraha, we are the Ashray. So we have to take Ashray of the Vishaya. Jai Grantraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki Jai. Om
Hare
Premanande.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Hari Bol.
Thank you.
So I will end here.
Thank you. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hari Bol, Prabhu. You
Hari
safe,
Bol.
stay safe. Yeah.
Thank
Hari
you.
Bol.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hari Bol.
Hari Bol.
Hare Bol. Hare Bol.
Hari Bol.
Hare Bol.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.